On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the fifth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 5 golden rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 6th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 6 geese a-laying, 5 golden rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 7th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 7 swans a-singing, 6 geese a-laying, 5 golden rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 8 maids a-milking, 7 swans a-swimming, 6 geese a-laying, 5 golden rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. Year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new year, lads and lasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, fa la 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 la. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. To be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel.
bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. We ran into a drifted bank, and there we got upside. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night. Son of God, love's pure light. Radiant beams from thy holy face. With the dawn of redeeming grace, Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth.
Welcome into round number 7 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series. The road to $10,000 runs through the Richmond International Raceway and one of our only short tracks of this 2013 Pro Series. Tim, Terry, Evan Pasoko here to call all the action for you. We're getting ready to go racing, and we'll bring you the starting grid as much as we can before these guys go racing because they're about to get at it. Chris Overland is on the pole, your Pro Series point leader at a 1957. To the outside, it's Kenny Humpy.
Take a look at row 2, the 96 of Richard Doucette's going to be starting 3rd and 4th place, the 57 of PJ Sturgis.
Got Dylan Duval rolling off from position number 5 to the outside. It's an all-Canadian row number 3 with Brandon Hawk.
Josh Berry in the 91 is going to start 7th, and Alex Warren in the 82 starting 8th.
All Carolina next row. Chad Lawton on the inside, Mitchell Hunt on the outside.
P11 going to belong to the driver of the 4 machine. That's Brian Day, and Patrick Baldwin starting 12th.
Brandon Schmidt rolls off from position number 13. Brad Mahar rolls off from 14th.
Cody Bias in the 27 going to be starting 15th spot. 16th spot, the 23 of Brandon Hoff.
Got Alex Scribner rolling off from 17th to the outside. It's the 07 of Derek Crone.
Tom Mustaka is going to hit the grid 19th spot. And 20th position going to belong to Paul Kashiba.
Lee Herron rolls off from 21st to his outside of the 87. It's Treads.
31 machine of Sasha Wessler hitting the grid 23rd. 24th, the 157 of Andrew Fayash.
We got Billy Price rolling off from 25th and former Pro Series point leader Landon Harrison.
Kwame J 27th and Justin Bolton 28th.
Got Stephen Gilbert in 29th, completing your top 30. 22, Rob Ackley.
Jade Miller starting 31st, 32nd, Brandon Bowie.
Brandon Chaburko from 33rd, and John Adams will have to claw his way from 34th.
Got Brian Blackford back there in the 35th starting position, 36th, Tyler Lawton.
Ashley Miller and Justin Trombley make up your next row.
And to round off the field, Nicholas Morse and Charlie Foster, positions 39th and 40th.
Got that all in before we went green as well. We're getting ready for 200 laps around the Richmond International Raceway. Michigan was a couple weeks ago. It's rolling into 1, but we get 2 weeks off. This is where this series really can make or break for you. We got 2 weeks off for Christmas, the holidays, New Year, everything else that's in there. And then you have 3 weeks after that. Watkins Glen, New Hampshire, and Charlotte. So it's 7 weeks, off weeks, and then 3 weeks to close off this season. You can really set yourself up for those 3 weeks and these 2 off weeks coming up if you get out of Richmond with a good finish. Chris Overland is your point leader. He's chased by Brandon Schmidt in the point standings. Brandon Schmidt is starting a little deep in this field. He's starting 13th. Pace car is off the racetrack, and Overland about to get busy up in front. The double clutch 47 is on the hammer. Green flag flies, and we are underway. And Evan, I hate to jinx us, but we went 200 laps caution-free last year at Richmond in the Pro Series. See if we can't do that again.
They're going to battle side by side off turn 2 for 3rd, and the 57 of PJ Sturgis going to get that spot around Richard Doucette, and then they're going to single file up behind them as Dylan Duval stays in front of the 53 of Hawk off 4.
It looks like the Brandon Hawk machine going underneath the Dylan Duval machine. Almost a little bit of contact there. Brandon Hawk had to let it to the throttle. We're single file through about your top 8 or 9 or so as these guys behind the top 10 begin to fan out and begin to do some side-by-side battles as Brian Day in the double clutch 4 making a move on the 91 of Josh Berry. And here comes your second place point man Brandon Schmidt in the 3 as he tries to make his way to the front.
Yeah, Schmidt's on the inside. He's going to get around Josh Berry in the 91 machine up on that top lane. Berry going to be able to get in line and caution on the racetrack.
Caution flag will fly for the first time this evening on lap number 3, so we'll slow these drivers down. Stephen Gilbert is around in the 37 car off corner number 2, and it may be a single car incident, but it wasn't a single car to send the 37 of Stephen Gilbert around. I believe Rob Ackley may have had a little bit of contact to send that 37 around, but nobody else getting a whole lot of damage to that. Rob Ackley's got a little bit of a crinkled front end on the 22. And Stephen Gilbert didn't hit anything, so he's going to be able to rejoin the rear of the field as well. So 1 car spin. We're under caution for the first time this evening.
Yeah, that'll happen real quick for the driver of that number 37. He got it down in there to the corner, and then the 43 machine just maybe not carrying the speed that he was expecting, and he had to kind of check up, and he wiggled and kind of went from the bottom of the racetrack kind of up, got a little bit sideways, and that's what kind of slowed him down. And the 22 machine, you mentioned getting into the back of him, that was Rob Ackley making contact. The 36 machine also got a little bit of a piece of that. That was Justin Bolton. Bolton was sideways up on the top of the track, caught the outside wall. He was able to hang on to it and keep going. The 37 spun around, nobody else involved, so that's going to put us under the first caution of the night. So Tim, we're going to answer your question, and we're not going to go caution free.
Well, these guys went about 204 laps consecutive green at Richmond before that caution flag did fall. So these drivers know how to put on a show, and we saw it a couple weeks ago at Michigan International Speedway where we went 90 laps caution free to the finish. So these drivers can have good races, but Evan, we've also seen it in this season where a rash of cautions can really slow down the rhythm of the race. And in some cases, in some of those early races, the rhythm really wasn't there for these drivers to get a green flag run. And I know these drivers like Richmond. These drivers have worked all week long on their setups to get them right for this evening. Cloudy and 77 is your temperature. A little bit of a southeast wind at 5 miles an hour. Humidity's at 75% this evening at the virtual Richmond International Raceway. But these drivers know how to go green. A lot of these drivers were in this race last year. Guys like Rich Doucette and Dylan Duval and Alex Warren. Some of these drivers, they know how to go green at the Richmond International Raceway. And I'm sure once we find a rhythm, these drivers are going to click off some green flag laps.
And definitely 200 laps on the board this track, 3/4 of a mile in length. Got to keep in mind also, you mentioned it was hard to get in that rhythm to get those green flag runs. The first four, maybe 5 races, we saw a very patterned trend, and we saw an early caution, a little bit of a green flag stretch there in the middle, and then when it came down to the end, it was just trying to stay out of the wreck, and that really shuffled up some of these guys that have had good runs in those early races, not getting the finishing results that they were looking for because they got shuffled back. And that's why we touched on it last week at Michigan. It was real good to see 93 laps of green flag racing, and they kept it entertaining. And looking for that tonight also as we try to get a rhythm going here. Only lap 7 right now out of 200, so still a long way to go off. 2 lights off, so we're going to be looking for the green.
We should mention as well, 6 races, 6 different winners. Very competitive season so far. Chris Oberlin, Justin Bolton, Josh Berry, John Gorlinski, Robert Hall, Kenny Humpy have all won a race in this series so far this season. 2 of those drivers going to start in the front row of this restart, going to look to become the first repeat winner of this season. The first racing Ford Mustang pace car into the infield. Overland in control. Green flag flies, and the 47 is gone in a hurry. But look at PJ Sturgis, 57. Underneath the 58, battle for second going into corner number 1. They check up behind. Mitchell Hunt is way out of the groove. He's going to lose 2 spots.
Yeah, Mitchell Hunt in the outside groove there with the 19 machine has company. That's Chad Lawton on the inside in the 26, door-to-door through 3 and 4. Lawton's going to get around him. Can the 4 of Brian Day get down there on the inside lane? He can't. Mitchell Hunt going to go down and actually try to make a move on the inside of the 26, get on the brakes, maybe block the 4 of Day. Day with the checkup in the back with now. He has the 91 of Josh Berry all over his bumper off too.
There's a driver that really hasn't had a good season at this point. The 4, Brian Day, now to the outside of the 91 of Josh Berry as he tries to maintain a top 10 spot. He's going to fall to the top 10 this time, but Brian Day, let's call a spade. He hasn't had a good season so far. He really needs to turn it around to get into the top. If you're shooting for 30 in this series, at least top 20 will guarantee you a spot in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. And we mentioned this could be a turnaround race with 3 races to go left in this season. You'd have to believe that Brian Day is in one of those go or go home situations at this point.
Alex Warren is in a side-by-side battle. He just got around the 53 machine of Brandon Hawk through 1 and 2, so Warren going to advance his position and now move up to P6. Other than that, these guys single filing out fairly quickly. But we do see that these guys are making aggressive moves. The 91 of Josh Berry got around Day with a very aggressive move coming off of 2, getting it down to the inside, and 3 to make that pass. But other than that, it looks like we're starting to get single filed out throughout the field.
And that's what we need to log some laps and try to get to that point. Battle for second heating up, though. PJ Sturgis is going to lose it to Kenny Humpy. And here comes the 42 of Dylan Duval. And Duval is one of those drivers, Evan, that switched teams over the past week, leaving the team, or the team they call the team, to Cody Bias Racing. And now the 42 driving for Cody Bias Racing in position number 3. And I don't know if it's rejuvenated Dylan Duval's driving ability or driving attitude towards this series, but he ran in the top 20 last week. He's running in the top 5 right now. I don't know if it's change the way he's thinking at all, or what the case may be, but right now he's sitting in position number 3 with a teammate about 3 car lengths back in the 82 of Alex Warren.
I didn't keep in mind also, last week we were seeing some guys that were up there at the top of the championship standings running even around 30th spot, and Dylan Duval helping himself out here tonight for sure with a qualifying lap, qualifying P5 with a 19.624. He's doing solid. He's picked up 2 spots since that point. Kenny Humphrey and obviously Dylan Duval maybe taking advantage of a little bit of a mistake from PJ Sturgis in the 57, because that's why we see Sturgis now back in the 4th spot. So these guys slowly losing Chris Overland, 47. Remember, Chris Overland is currently sitting number 1 in the points by 25 points, and starting P1 here, he's going to be looking for to be our first season repeat winner. You mentioned all 6 races have had separate winners to this point.
And we can't mention a point lead being safe, because cautions out in the speedway will continue that point in a second as Overland will slow down, and the field will get bunched up behind him. As I see some smoke off corner number 4. Did you see a car number possibly that might have brought that out?
Hey, look, the 51 machine is going to be the cause of the caution. That is Tyler Laughlin coming through 1 and 2. It looks like he was running maybe a groove up or half a groove up with a 9 machine. Tried to take a look on his inside. That was Nicholas Morse. And Morse caught the left rear of the number 51 machine and sent Laughlin into the outside wall. He locked it up and just kind of pancaked it, and he tried to save it all the way off the corner, but that thing finally spun out, smacked the rear end. He's going to have some rear end damage. Nobody else involved, so the second single car accident is going to put us under caution number 2.
We might need to watch Twitter after that battle between those 2 drivers. There's 2 drivers that are usually vocal on Twitter. I can't remember their Twitter handles right off, but I'm sure that I'll grab those in a few moments' time. But speaking about grabbing stuff, half the field is on the pit road. I would say about 15th or so on back is on pit road right now, getting some fuel and tires. This might not be a bad choice if we do go green here.
You got likes the Brian Day down on the pit lane, everybody going down, getting some tires, and again, it's just going to set us up for some varying pit strategy. Taking 4 tires was that 4 machine of Brian Day. He entered after, I think he was about 16th place coming down the pit lane. From that point, you were touching on how he hasn't had the strongest season to this point. There's really not a lot of time to turn things around, but you talked about the break now that we're going to have for the holidays after tonight's race. A solid finish tonight can really get your momentum going maybe for those final 3 races, because you don't want to sit here for those 2 weeks that you can't go to the racetrack and know that there was something that you messed up on, and I got to stare at those points for 2 weeks before you can try to improve on that. So another thing to keep in mind also, it's almost like a 3-race chase to the finish here when we come back in the new year for that championship.
And just to close off the point from earlier, T_Loff and Nmore7 are those 2 Twitter handles if you're looking to follow some people on Twitter. 2 drivers that sometimes wear their emotions on their sleeve, or in this case their Twitter account. Follow those 2, T_Loff and Nmore7, in case you're looking for some possible antics or something from that incident there. But the point I was trying to mention before we went caution, you can't say that there's a point lead that's safe in this series. We saw Tyler Hudson come back from over a race in 3 races as the field doubles up to win that championship over Ray Alfala. He came from almost a full race or over a full race behind in 3 races. There's 3 races left in this series, and of course there was a drop week in that series as well. So I'm not saying that if Chris Overland goes out here tonight and wins this evening, and his teammate Brandon Schmidt, let's say, finishes in the top 10 where he's running, or just outside the top 10 where he's running, yeah, sure, he's probably going to have a 30-something point lead. No point lead is safe, but you better believe Chris Overland is trying to punch his ticket into that Drivers' World Championship for next season. He could very well do it, or come very close to doing it here this evening. Pace car is in, and Chris Overland on the hammer again. The double clutch 47 is gone. Green flag flies. He's been lights out on every single restart this evening. It's going to be Kenny Humpy in second. Look at Sturgis on the outside of Dylan Duval trying to make it happen.
Dylan Duval going to get around and now have that 3rd spot, not quite clearing Sturgis yet, but now going into 3 he will, and Sturgis is going to sneak into line. The 82 machine side by side with Chad Lawton behind them. That's Alex Warren in the 82. He nearly made contact with Lawton, and now caution back out on the track, trouble.
22 car. Rob Ackley being told that that's the caution car. And this one, indeed it is. He's sitting up against the corner number 4 inside wall. And Evan, he was involved in our first caution flag of the evening. And this here is Actually, this happens in front of him, underneath a couple cars checking up, and Rob Ackley gets turned from behind. I believe that may be Kwame Ajay in the 56 car getting into the 22, but that happened really underneath him. Trey Edson checking up, and a couple of drivers behind him checking up, and then it just accordions to the outside line, and Rob Ackley will go around after contact with the 56 car as Landon Harrison. Oh boy, I don't know if he got through that or not. It looked like he may have a little bit of damage to the Sonic number 89, but if he didn't, that was pretty close. I'm pretty sure Hick and Jick, they gasped on the side of that car because it was pretty close to contact.
And that all happened up in front of him with the 31 machine, really. Sasa Wessler maybe getting into the back a little bit of the 27 of Bison, and it just stacked on back from there. The 87 machine, that was Trey Edson, really hit the back of the that car in front of him pretty solidly. And then they kind of went to make evasive maneuvers in front of them. The 36 machine jumped up to the outside lane. That was Justin Bolton. So therefore, the 22 machine kind of checked up for him and was evidently turned by the 56 of Billy Price behind him, causing the caution. Tried to hang on to it, kind of stood up against each other sideways off the corner and just was not able to hang on to that machine. So he evidently went around. That's why we're under another caution flag so far tonight. You touched on some other cars maybe getting a little bit of damage. 22 kept it out of the inside wall, but again, that's his second incident so far tonight. He's on the pit lane, not the start that he was looking for by any means.
Mentioned a little bit earlier as well that top 30 was the number for the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, and you might think, well, I saw these DoubleClutch presented Pro Series broadcasts earlier in the season, and you guys said 25. Why the change? Well, iRacing changed the structure for next season for 2014, starting in Season 1. It used to be the A-Class division on iRacing, the A-Open division on iRacing was the division that you used to transfer in to the Drivers' World Championship, or the Pro Series. 10 drivers a season, 10 from Season 1, 10 from Season 2, and 10 from Season 3 got locked into the Pro Series, along with the drivers that dropped down from the Drivers' World Championship, and they ran the Pro Series, which you're seeing here this evening. Now, that changes in 2014. The NASCAR iRacing Series, or what is the current NASCAR iRacing Series, there will be an open setup series. That will be the Road to Pro, essentially, instead of the Class A Series. So it's going to be a longer season. There's going to be no transferees into the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship through the A-Class Series. They get their Pro Stripe early. They get to try to qualify for those races. Instead, they're taking 10 drivers instead of 5 to qualify for those final 3 spots at the back of the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship field. You might be thinking, Tim, that was really confusing. It probably was. It's easier described if you're an iRacing member on the forum. Essentially, the drivers that are in the top 20 in this series locked into every race next season. The drivers that are sitting 21st to 30th, they're running for the final 3 spots each week, go or go home qualifying style. As speaking about go or go home, we are getting ready to go to green next time by, I do believe, as lights are still on atop the pace car. But it just adds to this series. And Evan, maybe under the next caution, I'll go over some of those drivers that are in the top 20 or fighting for the top 20 and fighting for the top 30, because in a 10-race series, there's not a whole lot of room for error, especially with one drop race. It gives you 9 of your best point races going towards your total. There's not a whole lot of room for error when you look at it.
I know, we talked about that in these opening races where we saw some drivers, miss a race or 2, and with only 1 drop week, that's not what they were looking for sure. You mentioned the lights are now coming off on that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. We are doubled up on the backstretch. We're going to be looking to take the green flag for lap number 28. The question will be, how solid is Chris Overland on this restart? Again, he's been solid all night so far in that 47, sitting P1 still.
And Chris Overland has been lights out on every single restart. We'll see if he can continue the trend here. Pace car is in, and Overland waiting to go. Here he comes. Green flag flies. Humpy gets a great start on the outside, as does PJ Sturgis. The 42 with Duval sleeping a little bit. Going to have his teammate Alex Warren behind him going into the corner. And now it's Chad Lawton trying to push to the front. Pat Baldwin on the outside in the 52 as they go at it toe-to-toe down the back straightaway and into corner number 3.
52 is up on the top of the racetrack. That's Patrick Baldwin. 26 of Chad Lawton going to get around him on the inside. Not quite clear off of turn number 4. He's going to get it here in 1 side-by-side. Now in front of them, Alex Warren tried to take a look on the inside of Duval. Duval protecting that position, going to hang on to that spot this time off a 2. Meanwhile, good draw by the 52 of Baldwin through 1 and 2. He is kept side-by-side with the 26 of Lawton. Lawton trying to get clear him off for it.
Trying to get clear off of corner number 4, Chad Lawton in the number 26 car, trying to pull Josh Berry along with him as well as Josh Berry in the 91. Gonna make a move on Pat Baldwin. Baldwin stuck to the outside. That's not the place to be. He comes down to the inside as we have a battle for the lead beginning to brew as Kenny Humpy is putting pressure on Chris Oberlin in the 47. The 47 car of Chris Oberlin has company for the first time this evening on lap 31.
In 58 of Humpy, this time coming off a corner number 2 down the back, losing a little bit of ground. It's about 1 or 2 car lengths. Really throwing it in there to turn 3 is the driver of the 58 machine. However, that might hurt him a little bit on exit. Actually, good job by him. The differential this time by the stripe going to be 0.15 of a second between Humpy and Oberlin going into 1. Don't count out PJ Sturgis there in the 57, also hanging around in 3rd.
Yeah, Sturgis in the 57 is looking for that great finish to really turn around his season as well. Had a great run a couple weeks ago, but it was all for naught after a penalty late in the race put him out of contention as we have 3 wide in the middle of the pack here trying to get a number on it. It's around the 10 of Tom Moustakas. I believe it's just behind him. Cody Bias, Mitchell Hunt in the 19 car is back here as well, and there's a name that we don't usually talk about either. Mitchell Hunt in the 19 car, way back outside the top 15 right now. There's a lot of exciting moments back there.
Caution on the racetrack, trouble on the front straightaway through the grass is the driver of the 26 machine in trouble. To find him, Chad Lawton, in the infield grass or in the front stretch grass, and gonna get that thing rolling again, but not before picking up some front end damage after making contact with Josh Berry coming out of 4th.
And he got a little contact, as you mentioned, from Josh Berry, and he may have got the 96 at Rich Doucette. I don't know if Doucette's going to have any right side damage or not, but he nearly got his teammate too when he came back across the racetrack. So, and it's been an up and down season for Chad Lawton in that 26 car. It's either been finish near the front or finish somewhere in the back after running up front. It's been one of those really frustrating seasons for the 26 team of Chad Lawton with not a whole lot of bright spots, as the double clutch number 26 will have to regain his focus as we have some pit stops happening here. Maybe a bunch of fakes up in front. Josh Berry is the first to elect to come down to pit road from position number 6. He is going to bring the number 53 of Brandon Hawk along with him, along with a few others, but a majority of your top 15, top 20 or so are going to stay out. This will put Josh Berry back probably about 25th or so when we go back to green. And I believe that may be what put Mitchell Hunt back there as well, is he's running 17th prior to these drivers coming down pit road. He'll be somewhere in the top 15 when we go green. So they'll it's going to do a little bit of strategy dance here and put some of those drivers at the back of the field, closer to the front of the field if they don't pit.
And definitely, and you got to take a look at those guys up front again. They have not pitted yet. We've seen about pretty much on every caution some race cars come down for fuel and tires, and if we do see a long green flag run, you got to think that in the back of their mind, they got to be thinking, what is this going to do in the long term? The way it's looking right now, not looking like we're going to get a long green flag run, but there's still a lot of racing to go at Richmond International Raceway here, and these guys can certainly get in the groove and get going. They're just going to get spread out from each other. Cautions breed cautions, and if these guys just can't get some distance between each other, those kind of incidents are going to happen where just miscommunication going side by side, the slightest of contact going to send somebody around. So try to keep a note on some of these guys that come down the pit lane early and where they end up maybe at the halfway point, and then when it comes down to it to see if it pays off.
So we're still 2 laps or so from going green. Mention those drivers that are fighting for the top 20 spots in this series. Now keep in mind, this is without the 1 drop race. After 6 races, Chris Overland, Brandon Schmidt, Landon Harrison, Brandon Hoff, Robert Hall, Mitchell Hunt, Rich Doucette, Josh Berry, Brian Blackford, Chad Lawton, Brad Mahar, Alex Warren, Patrick Baldwin, Kwame Ajay, Derek Crone, John Adams, Brandon Chaburko, Brandon Bowie, Rob Ackley, Justin Trombley. Those are your top 20 in the point standings after the first 6 races of the season, with 4 races to go without the 1 drop. Then you got 10 drivers out and back, including Alex Scribner, Kenny Humpy, Justin Bolton, Andrew Fayash III, PJ Sturgis, Cody Bias, Shane Miller, Nicholas Morse, Stephen Gilbert, and Brian Day. Those are the top 30. Those last 10 names that I mentioned will be fighting for, essentially, if they can punch their ticket into the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship, they'll retain their pro license, and they'll fight for the final 3 spots each week on the field. Obviously, if there's less than 40 show up for those races on Tuesday evenings beginning in February, then more spots will open up for those Pro Series drivers. Everybody else from 31st on back right now they're fighting to get in the top 30, because if they don't get in the top 30, they don't have a shot at making those NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship races, and they have to fight back through the road to pro. And I don't know how many weeks off the top of my head it is, Evan, but there's 30 weeks in seasons 1, 2, and 3. I don't think that NASCAR iRacing series is going 30 weeks, but I would believe that it's going a majority of those weeks. It's a long season if you want to make it to the Pro Series for the 2014 campaign. If I'm these drivers in this series, I'm fighting damn hard to not be outside this top 30.
Yeah, this is definitely where to capitalize on it. Obviously the top 20, but then those next 10 spots battling for 3, and not the most convenient situation to be placed in, but it's a lot better than having to go through the road to pro again. Doubled up lights are off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car, working through 3 and 4 down to the pit lane. Overland is going to wait on it, and he is on the loud pedal in the 47. The green flag back out, and PJ Sturgis going to try to get side by side for second in a 1.
Side by side, it's going to be the 57 of PJ Sturgis getting a spot. Kenny Humpy's on the outside, and he's trying to fight that car. Here comes Warren on the inside. 82 going to flash the nose, not going to get there on the 58 going into corner number 3. And Dylan Duval now going to complete your top 5 after 1 lap of green flag racing. 40 laps completed total. 160 to go here at Richmond. Side by side, looks like Rich Doucette going to pick up a spot. Pat Baldwin's falling back like a stone on the outside line. Here comes Schmidt on the inside, and Brad Mahar going to try to make up a spot in the 00 as well. Outside lines really not the place to be, and there comes another caution.
Caution flag out on the racetrack. Trouble on the back straightaway. It looks like the 44 of Lee Heron is involved in it. That's down the back, and I do believe it's another single car accident. Looking like on the replay here, they were coming at a turn number 2, the 44 of Heron, kind of in that outside lane, and trouble in front of him with the 157 of Andrew Fayash getting up at the outside wall. Lee Heron was going down, and the 157 came off that wall. He kind of got on the brakes, tried to avoid it or something, got sideways and was going to get into the 31 machine of Sasha Wessler and overcorrected it, put it in the outside wall, and spun that thing around. So under the caution flag again at Richmond.
Should mention as well that these drivers do have an incident system, or the series, I should say, has an incident system. The wrecks and the incidents that cause these cautions are looked at by race officials, and they deem whose fault it is. If you hit so many incident points in the season, it's a rolling system, race per race, and if you hit a certain amount of incident points, you're suspended for the week. Obviously, last week at Michigan, we only had 2 cautions, so there wasn't a whole lot of drivers that were really looked at, even though Jeremy Lukaska was popped, and he's now sitting out for this week. He'll be back next week. But these incidents, and there's an allotment of laps, and Evan, I'm not sure if it's 5 or 10, after a restart, the points are doubled. So we've seen a lot of these incidents in the first 43 laps of this race that are probably going to have double points. And some of these drivers could very well be sitting out next week, and by next week I mean in 3 weeks' time, coming up at the Watkins Glen race. And there's another thing we talked about. We talked about there's 3 races left in this season. They're at 3 totally unique racetracks. I don't think the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship or the Pro Series has gone to a road course in 2 seasons. I know the last 2 seasons there hasn't been a road course. This is the first time in 2 years that a Oval Series, the top Oval Series, is going to a road course. It's going to Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time on January 7th. January 14th, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Magic Mile, 1 mile racetrack, and then 1.5 miles Charlotte Motor Speedway to close off the season on the 21st. You can see them all here on LSRTV, and the coverage is presented by DoubleClutch. But there's 3 totally unique racetracks. Richmond is just a quarter mile smaller than the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, so if you're likening anything to this racetrack, it would be New Hampshire, but it's a totally different layout. 3 races at the end of the season, 3 different racetracks. You're going to have to be good at all 3 in order to not only vie for the championship with Chris Overland, but also knock your ticket into the top 20.
Yeah, Watkins Glen, obviously with the road course, could throw a twist into things. New Hampshire, could be a lot of beating and banging there. That thing's like a Martinsville on steroids there. When he touched on it, the Magic Round. Then Charlotte to close it off, a nice long race under the lights back to the 1.5s to finish it out. So it'll be good. It'll be good to see what happens in those final 3 weeks. Again, they're kind of separated from the rest of the season as they come after these off weeks here that follow tonight's race. So a lot of these drivers are going to sit here for these next 2 weeks and look at those points, and they're going to go into those next 3 races pretty determined, and it should be wild there.
Next time by, we're going to go green, and a lot of momentum. If you're Chris Overland, you go in to this 2-week break. If you win this evening, you know, it even adds to it, but even if you go in to this week as the point leader, more than likely you're going to, unless you have a horrendous night this evening, you're going to have a little bit of momentum. You're going to enjoy your holiday season. If you're a guy like Kenny Humpy, good finish tonight will turn around your season to add to the win from last week. But if you're a guy like PJ Sturgis, we mentioned Brian Day a little bit earlier, you really have to have this evening to turn around your season, because if not, those 2 weeks are going to seem like 2 months when you have to try to redeem yourself the next week by. Pace car is in, and here comes the green for the 47 of Chris Overland. Once again, it lights out the 57 of Sturgis in second. Let's see if Kenny Humpy can do anything. No, he cannot. What a great start for Sturgis to put himself into second. We're side by side from both, 6th on back.
Yeah, the 96 is on the outside. That's Richard Doucette. He has company with the driver of the 3, Brandon Schmidt, trying to move on up through this field. They're side by side, and then pretty much double wide all the way behind them. Coming by the stripe right now, the 3 machine having the advantage going into quarter number 1.
PJ Sturgis up in position number 2. Well, it's not 2 anymore because he just lost it to Kenny Humpy. And here comes the 82 of Alex Warren and the 42 of Dylan Duval. The 82 of Alex Warren tried to sail it in on the 57, but could not get there. We got a big wreck in the back.
Big trouble, and the caution flag going to fly back out here at the Richmond International Raceway as trouble back in the pack is going to reach these guys on that restart, as everybody was so bunched up there, and going to put us under the caution flag again as that all went down in turn number 3 with several cars in the outside wall up along the fence. And we're going to try to get a handle on this and see where this thing started.
50-91 is what I'm seeing here. That would be Scribner and Josh Berry. And there's another driver that started off this season strong, Evan, and has had a couple of lackluster weeks, per se, these last couple. Alex Scribner, it looks like, gets up into Josh Berry a little bit here, and those 2 drivers met down the back straightaway. 50 and 91 get into the fence, and the 50 car actually spins back into the field first before he goes back up into the fence, and takes a couple of drivers with him up on that outside line. A couple of drivers slowing down to avoid, and they just pile in there. At the back of it, the 7 of Miller, and I believe that is the 157 of Andrew Fash, the 3rd. John Adams slows down to avoid, and I believe Tyler Laughlin may have got a little piece of that. So T-Loff is going to have some more damage to go with the damage that he had earlier. So about a half dozen cars getting at least a little bit of damage from that one, as the caution flag will fly. Pace cars collected the field down the back straight away. We are 1/4 distance this time by.
Yeah, the 50th Scribner, you mentioned getting up into the 91 machine of Barry. Barry wasn't quite up on the wall, maybe what the 50 was expecting, and they kind of got sideways. You mentioned the 50 went in front of the field. I think the 31 machine got a piece of that. They went back up the hill into the wall, and the 7 was in there. The 157 of Fayash got a piece of that as well, and everybody behind them just kind of stacked it on in there, so that's what caused that whole deal. But again, under the caution flag here so far, I believe the 5th or 6th caution to this point in the race, and you mentioned we're passing the quarter distance in this 200 lap race. Chris Overland still sitting P1, but he is yet to hit the pit lane.
I did have a message somewhere from Harrison Weidel. It's the crew chief for former point leader Landon Harrison. Mentioned a little bit earlier that he was pretty close to one of those wrecks at the start of this race. They did have a right front tire area issue with that caution. It gave him a minute and a half worth of damage and had to use a lot of wheel to really get that thing around the racetrack. At 1.5 minutes, I should say, of optional, because he didn't have to sit down into pit road and get it all fixed. So he is still on the lead lap right now, and Landon trying to work his way back up to the front. He's currently scored in 24th place in the number 89 car. So he's trying to push his way back up the front, and he did tell me that he went to his sponsor this evening. He visited Sonic, and he got a couple of those single patty cheeseburgers at half price. So technically, he bought 2 for the price of 1. So he was pretty happy about that. But Landon Harrison, the 89, running in position 24 this evening, and he's going to try to push back to the front of the field. He's got a pretty good shoe on the box, though, in Harrison Wadlitz.
Yeah, definitely. The caution still out right now. Again, we're a quarter of the way through this thing, so I mean, you got to think of what these guys are thinking. If they're anticipating that we're going to see this string of caution flags throughout the entire race, how pit stops are going to happen, because we've seen guys 15th on back, 10th on back, 20th on back under these first 3 or 4 cautions that happened earlier in the going here, come down the pit lane and get tires and fuel. Eventually our leader's going to have to come in to do so, then they're going to find themselves back in that pack around 20th spot there, which is where all that madness is happening on these restarts. So again, no one's really in a safe spot at this point. Lights off, doubled up, coming off at 2, looking for the green flag when we come to take lap 54 of 200.
So we are doubled up. It's going to be the 47 of Chris Overland. He's actually getting pretty good at these restarts. I think we said that earlier tonight, but he's getting pretty good at these restarts. Kenny Humpy on the outside. PJ Sturgis has also been pretty good on the restarts as well. We'll see what he can do here. Pace car is in, and we are getting ready. There it is. Green flag flies, and look at Sturgis on the inside, trying to take that spot away from Kenny Humpy. Outside line's not the place you want to be. PJ Sturgis knows that. He's on the inside of the 58 as they go side by side, and Humpy going to have a spot in the line here if he wants it. The NRT Servers, number 58, going to take third.
The 3 machine of Schmidt's going to sail it into 3 and almost get it into the back of the 82 of Warren, who shut the door on a possible opening down the back straightaway. They're going to single file out now, double file around the 10th position. The 52 machine of Patrick Baldwin getting around the 27 of Cody Bias. Now the 13 there, Charlie Foster into the picture. He has made a significant improvement after starting in 40th spot. He's sitting 11th right now in this mix.
Yeah, there's a name we haven't called all night long, Charlie Foster in the number 13, and I believe he started near the back of the field. Actually, he started scratching the field in 40th. He's on his way to the top 10 as he took position number 11 that last time by. He's bringing Mitchell Hunt along with him, actually, as the top 12 or so. Our single file, Nick Morris on the outside of Trey Edson in the 87. That's a side-by-side battle for about position 15, and Justin Trombley is also a part of it. You want to talk about a short track ace on the iRacing service? Justin Trombley is one of those drivers that you really need to mention, and Trombley working his way up underneath the number 9. That is the battle for position 16.
And Nicholas Morris at the 9 machine just can't get a break there on the outside line. Going to lose a spot now as the 17 of Trombley gets around him. The 53 of Hawk going to get up next to him and have the advantage into 1. And there goes the 10 of Tom Moustakis, going to slide on there on the inside as well in turn number 1. So the 9 of Nicholas Morris desperately needing to get back down in line, or he's going to continue to lose spots. He's lost about 4 at least since we went back to green flag racing, and bad news for him as they are bumper to bumper on the inside lane as he continues to drop now as the 26 of Lawton is on his inside, and now the 91 of Josh Barrett going to join him going into 1.
And there's another driver that we mentioned off the top of the show that desperately needs a great run to really turn around his season. The 9 of Nick Morris is one of those drivers that needs to do so. We mentioned his name in the top 30, wants to move up a little bit more to really solidify himself into the top 20 in the point standings. So Nick Morris trying to push his way to the front of the field, but he is going to have to redo it from 21st. He's found a spot in line on the inside, Evan, but now he has to work hard to get all those positions back that he just lost. He actually might be joined by Trey Edson in the 87 fairly soon, because Edson now stuck on the outside as here comes Brandon Hawk in the 53 on the inside. He tries to make the move. That is for around 15th place.
You got the 26 machine of Chad Lawton on his inside going into turn number 1. You're seeing that the 87 of Edson on the top lane just can't get it done. However, the door is going to open in front of the 10 machine of Tom Moustakis. So Edson going to get in line. Moustakis maybe making a move on him. He's going to open up the door. Now the 9 of Morris is going to go on the inside of Tom Moustakis out of 4 now, going into 1. Nicholas Morris driving way down there on the racetrack, going into the corners, going to get that spot. However, we see some side-by-side in front of them as Justin Trombley is going to lose a spot to Brandon Hawk around 15th.
So Justin Trombley will fall 1 spot here, and it looks like on the outside line there is a slower car. That's the 23 of Brandon Hoff, as he will fall back a few spots, and that's a lead lap car. And Hoff has had a great season so far, but he really doesn't want to let it go here at Richmond, as he's going to lose about a half dozen more spots. Going to fall back behind the 26 to move to 18th place on the field so far. But Brandon Hoff, another one of those drivers, he's actually 4th in points after these 6 races this season without the drop. It's probably the quietest 4th place run that we've seen in a very long time in a series like this. Brandon Hoff trying to make something happen here, but he's going to have to do it from outside the top 15.
And definitely some more side-by-side going on. The 36 of Justin Bolton, who has scored P13 last time by the stripe, going to lose 2 spots in turns 3 and 4, as both the 53 machine of Brandon Hawk and the 91 of Josh Berry going to get around them. So got to move the 36 of Justin Bolton. He is now in 15th spot as they're all single file now, actually side by side. Now Mitchell Hunt on the inside of the 96 machine of Richard Doucette in 4.
Cody Bias is on the apron in corner number 2. He got tagged by Rich Doucette in the 96. We stayed green. The 96 of Rich Doucette was sideways, knocked Bias onto the apron, and he is going to lose a bunch of spots, as will Rich Doucette in the number 96 car, because he was also stuck to the outside, and you can still see him falling back. He's up near the wall and almost in the wall in the Tim's Corner Motorsports number 96 car. Doucette 3 wide, 23.36 on the inside as they'll clear the 96. That car is damaged. Brandon Hoff slides it into the corner. We stay green in what's been really the longest green flag run of this race so far.
Yeah, Doucette has something wrong with that race car after getting that contact there in the corner. Is just riding around the top of the racetrack. Doesn't have something that he can drive at the moment. He's just hanging on to it now as he comes this time by the start-finish line significantly slower, and he's going to go all the way to the tail end of the lead lap is that 96 machine, so tough break. Meanwhile, up front, Chris Overland has about a 2-car length lead over Kenny Humpy in that second position, taking a look pretty much single file through the top 20.
We mentioned Rich Doucette was driving Santa's sleigh a couple of weeks ago. I think Dasher may have lost a cylinder because he's down on pit road in the number 96, as is Tyler Laughlin. He's down on pit road getting some fuel and tires in that race car. Those drivers will be a few laps down on the field, and actually Laughlin's actually 18 laps down as we got some pressure for the lead. Here comes Humpy in the 58 on the back bumper of the 47 of Chris Overland. We saw it last week at Michigan how good this Humpy car was on the long run, and here comes the NRT Servers number 58. You're right on board with them closing in on that 47 double clutch Chevrolet of Overland, as there's a little bit of a battle for third back here. Duval going to take the spot, and here comes Alex Warren on the 57 of PJ Sturgis to move Sturgis back to 5th. But we mentioned on the long run last week, Kenny Humpy there was nobody touching that 58 car.
And he's doing solid now. He might have a shot here down the front stretch on the inside of Overland. He's going to take advantage of it going into turn number 1. Overland going to let him on by. So now Kenny Humpy to P147 thinks about battling back there at a 2. Can't get it done, and Kenny Humpy already going to open up about a 2-car length lead this time going into 3 and 4. Again, he was about 2-3 car lengths off him not too long ago. Has been able to hang with Chris Overland, and for the first time today, 58 machine to P1.
So now Overland back to 2nd. He's got Duval about 4 or 5 car lengths behind in the GX Gaming 42. But it looks like the 58 and 47 right now have a little bit more than those drivers behind them. The 82 of Alex Warren, PJ Sturgis complete your top 5. Brad Mahar up to position number 6. Not bad for the 00. Brandon Schmidt, Mitchell Hunt, Brandon Hawk now, and Pat Baldwin in the 52. And Baldwin is found his way into the top 10, and I saw a driver back there, I believe it was 23, Brandon Hoff, way out of the groove, as he will fall back a few more spots in the 23. It seems like it's been an up and down night for that 23. He's near the front, and then he falls back a few spots, gains them back, and then falls back those few spots that he gained.
And definitely, and that's one thing you got to keep in mind. I mean, we've seen several times tonight so far that you get stuck on that outside lane in those first few laps there out of a restart, and you can easily lose 5-6 spots. Now, you could spend a half hour under the green flag conditions to make those up 1 car at a time, and that's why you really got to keep your eye in that rear view mirror as much as be in contention with that car in front of you and really stay alert. Now, as the field starts to spread out a little bit, the 9 of Nicholas Morse is going to get around the 36 of Justin Bolton. Bolton in the 36 machine, going to lose 1 spot now, dropping back to P19. So that battle going on just inside the top 20.
PJ Sturgis in the 57 is falling back into the clutches of the 00 and the 3. We talked about how good Humpy is on the longer run. It appears the 57 might be going south on the long run of this race as opposed to going forward, because it looks like he's got that 00 glued to his back bumper as the 82 and 42 be front of them look like they were going to go at it for position number 4. The 57 and the 47 are on the same team. Last Row Motorsports as Duval lets his teammate go for position number 4 or 3. Check that. So Alex Warren up to the top 3 as he will begin his march towards those top 2. But it looks like maybe the Last Row Motorsports guys, when they were fixing their setup, may have thought this race is not going to have a long run and maybe we'll set up for the short run. It's not working at this point compared to some of the other drivers in the racetrack like they probably want it to.
A little bit of a side-by-side battle here around 25th. The 48 of John Adams is on the outside lane. He has company with the 43 of Kwame and Jay going to get around him on the inside machine, and the 84 machine of Adams is going to pull on. That was actually the 48 of Brandon Chaburko, who was stuck there on the outside lane. Chaburko, we saw in those opening few races with inside the top 3 in points. He finds himself 17th at the current time right now. So Brandon Chaburko in the 48 is going to need another solid finish if he wants to hang on to that top 20 spot and get in, or get locked in rather, to the 2014 NASCAR iRacing.com World Championships. Now, as Adams now in the 84 machine, he's on the top this time and he's losing some spots as the 50 going to get around him. That's Scribner, and now the 89 of Landon Harrison going to battle him off too.
Landon Harrison trying to move up a few more spots as he was leading the points earlier this season and beginning to fall back through the standings was Landon Harrison after last week's pit malfunction at Richmond, and now he's got the 33 of Brian Blackford and the 84 of John Adams behind him, and there's a few names that have been in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship for a few seasons. They know the ropes, and it's almost like it wouldn't be a NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship without the likes of Brian Blackford and John Adams and Landon Harrison. But right now, they're running 28th, 29th, and 30th in the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series. They're going to have to step it up here if they want to get their ticket punched, or at least a little bit closer to the top 5 in the point standings.
Yeah, definitely sitting 28th right now on the racetrack. Not the most ideal position to be in. I got a side-by-side battle. Brandon Hoff in a 23 machine is battling with Sasha Wessler. Wessler on the inside, and that 31 is trying to pick up that spot here now. Going into 3 is going to have the advantage. Just needs to clear the 23 off 4, and it will do so. So Sasha Wessler going to move to the 19th spot, and now we see 54 of Brandon Bowie going to go on by as well in 1.
Battle for position number 4 as the 57 of Sturgis makes the move on the 42. I guess he must have heard us talking about him, because Duval is now falling to the rear. What a move by Duval at a 4 to save that thing. What a move by Brandon Schmidt to keep off him, as he was sideways trying to pick up that spot. And we mentioned the inside line is the place to be. Duval saw that inside line for a brief moment and it disappeared on him because he lost 3 more spots trying to get his spot into line. But I was saying PJ Sturgis, he must have heard us or something, because he's now back up to position number 4 after falling a few spots. And Dylan Duval is back to position number 9, and he's about to fall a few more because Mitchell Hunt and Justin Trombley are on the hunt.
Those guys 4th on back, a little bit behind our leaders right now. Kenny Humpy has about a half of a second lead, actually 6/10 over Chris Overland in the 47 machine. Remember, he got around him about 10 laps ago or so to get to P1. Overland is sitting there in second now as the scoring update's about 7/10 back. Just 3/10 back is Alex Warren in 3rd place in the 82 machine, about 4 car lengths off back up for the 47 of Overland, and he's probably going to get that spot here soon, as Warren running slightly faster than Overland on the racetrack. Then it's a second back to the 4th place car, PJ Sturgis, to 57, so 2 seconds separate race leader in P4.
And we currently have 37 drivers in the racetrack. Tom Moustakas, Andrew Fayash III, and Tyler Laughlin are multiple laps down, check that Tom Moustakas 1 lap down, everybody else multiple laps down. Paul Kashiba, Rich Doucette, Lee Heron have all retired from this race. Ashley Miller, last driver on the lead lap, about 13 seconds behind your leader, or about a straightaway or so in front of your leader, Kenny Humpy, at this current time. We are 10 laps away from the halfway point, and Alex Warren is looking to put Chris Overland in his rearview mirror, because the core pipe number 82 has caught up to the double clutch number 47, and they're about to go toe-to-toe at position number 2, as Schmidt in the number 3 nearly has a moment with the 53 of Brandon Hawk, and I thought we were about to have another caution. By the way, those guys ran into 1.
Yeah, Hawk was right there. I think he had a chance to hit the 3 if he wanted to, but kept off that back bumper, just looking for a way by, and the doors are going to open here off 4s. Now the 53 machine of Hawk going to throw it down there on the inside lane, going into corner number 1. The 3 machine of Schmidt on the outside lane is going to allow the 19 of Mitchell Hunt to get on the inside as well. So Hunt and the 19 and the 3 are going to go side by side into corner number 3 as the 53 of Hawk has cleared both of these guys. They're going to go at it side by side for 8.
I see the 9, or the Nick Moores, has warned or asked the iRacing officials to watch the 51. Mentioned a little bit earlier that those two drivers went at it under one of the cautions, Evan. Tyler Laughlin right now is ahead of the 9 of Nick Morse, and he is 26 laps behind the pace. Nick Morse is on the lead lap. You may want to keep a half eye on that.
It's just something to add to the notebook here for sure. Short track racing, beating and banging, and a lot of tempers can get wound up here in 200 laps. We're approaching the halfway point right now as race leader Kenny Humpy coming off of turn number 4, going to take lap number 95, so 6 to go until we reach the halfway point, which is lap number 100, as this green flag run starts to span out here. And Kenny Humpy's loving every minute of it. Meanwhile, that battle for second continuing to heat up. I mentioned Alex Warren was running a little bit faster than Oberlin these last few laps. He is on the doorstep there, going through 3 and 4. Oberlin kind of blocked him going into 3, trying to hang on to second, but I don't think that 82 is going to stay back there for long.
Should mention that Brad Mahar moves up to position number 5 as Brandon Schmidt. We were talking about him battling with the 53. Brandon Hawk has moved back to 6th, and Brandon Schmidt has moved back to 10th as Hawk looks at the 00 for position number 5, and I think he'll get it here as the 00 is way up the racetrack at position number 5 as the 82 continues to hound the 47. He may have him going into corner number 1 here. 82 of Alex Warren to the inside, and he will look to pick up the runner-up spot over Chris Oberlin. Oberlin fighting back on the outside, but with the way the 82 caught that 47, I believe the 82 may drive off into the sunset here as we have 3 laps away from the halfway point in this event. 97 completed for Kenny Humpy.
He definitely, Warren's going to be able to get around him. He was running about half of a tenth or a tenth quicker than Chris Oberlin every lap when he was catching up to him. Slowed down a bit when he was on his back, but we're trying to find a way around him. Once that opening on the inside lane was there, he jumped on it, and that's why we see him now in the second spot. However, he is now about 1.3 seconds back from race leader Kenny Humpy. So Humpy right now the fastest car on the racetrack in those top 5. As these guys continue to put more time on that guy in 4th place. Hawk now in the 53 is all the way 2.7 seconds back.
The double clutch 26 of Chad Lawton is off the pace, and I don't know if Chad ran out of fuel or what the scenario was, but he was running in the top 10, and that thing just rolled onto pit road, and he has called for a tow on the 26 of Chad Lawton, and the season that has those ups and downs just took another down, and maybe a blown motor on the 26?
The 26 blows up. Coming through 1 and 2, he had some front-end damage from an earlier incident, and the thing just blew up coming off of 2 with that front-end damage, and was unable to get around to. Actually, he coasted it down to the pit lane, but didn't quite make it all the way to his stall. So Chad Lawton, his bad luck's going to continue as he blows the engine here at Richmond at the halfway point.
Halfway, 101 laps being worked on the board, about to be 102 for Kenny Humpy. In the 58, it's Humpy, Warren, Oberlin, Barry, and Hawk, as it looks like the 00 car has fallen back a little bit to position number 8. He's got Brandon Schmidt and Justin Trombley behind him. And remember we told you about 10, 15 laps ago to keep a half eye on the 9 and Nick Morse. He has not been able to pass that 51 of T-Law as Laughlin continues to stay in front of him, and you know it's kind of his prerogative. If he has a fast car or a as fast car, he really doesn't have to roll over and move out of the way. Common courtesy, yeah, maybe, but really doesn't have to roll out of the way, and we're not sure if the officials are telling him to move out of the way or not. But Nick Morse is one of those drivers that's fairly excitable, and we'll have to see what happens here, because it seems like the 9 and the 51 get pretty close to each other, but the 9 doesn't want to make a move.
I don't know if he's scared to make a move on the 51 machine, but for sure, I mean, right now Laughlin's sitting at 26 laps down in the 37th spot. Not like that 51 machine is terribly off pace at all, but I'm sure that the 9 of Morse wouldn't mind getting around him and maybe being able to battle with the 87 of Trey Edson. As that guy in the 87 machine sitting P15 right now at this point in the race. So you can understand where the 9 machine is coming from, but maybe he wants to be a little bit conservative and does not know maybe what the 51 machine is thinking. So doesn't really want to have to force the issue and maybe get chopped off, or maybe have some contact there, maybe going into the corner, not giving each other as much room as they should. But nonetheless, 106 on the board right now, so we're on the downhill slope of things at the Richmond International Raceway here as this green flag run continues to go. The question is, when will these leaders come down pit lane, and how will the field strategy shake out compared to some of those stops that we saw in the opening cautions?
And it looks like Josh Berry has the long run figured out because the Speedco number 91 just made a move on the 47 of Overland for position number 3. So Josh Berry will now set his sights on Alex Warren, who's about a half second in front of him, and that half second continues to dwindle as the 53 is under the 47 behind for position 4 and 5. Give it to Brandon Hawk going into corner number 1, so the 53 moves up to position number 4, and I believe Berry is going to take second here within a matter of, I don't know, maybe 5 laps as they come up on a lap vehicle. I believe that's Andrew Fayash, the third, about to go one more lap down to the field. He is currently 5 laps down in the 157 as he will go behind the lead lap cars in corner number 1. But Josh Berry flat flying right now, and he's actually, I believe, catching the leader. Last lap by for Berry was a 21.04 to Humpy's 21.25. So 0.2 of a second quicker for Berry that last time by as he looks underneath the 82. And we mentioned Berry running outside the top 25 at the start of this green flag run as there was almost contact between your second and third place drivers. Give it to Berry, though, in the 91. I mentioned he was outside the top 25 on this restart, and now, albeit we've had a few laps since that restart, he's worked his way to second. Berry is on the move.
Berry is definitely strong in this long run, only about a second off of Humpy. If we stay green, I believe he'll be able to get to the 58 machine, as he, again, 0.2 quicker that time by. Someone's car that's really fallen off is the 47 of Overland after going from P1, started the shuffle back. He's 2 seconds back from race leader Kenny Humpy in the 58 machine right now, so Overland maybe using up some of his stuff there, trying to get those good jumps on the restarts and hold those guys off when you're really going, because once we got a whole bunch of laps on these tires, he is starting to slide back. Meanwhile, Josh Berry's going to pick up 2 more tenths there on race leader.
And you mentioned that as well. Chris Overland and some of those drivers up in front have not visited pit road as of yet. We've passed the halfway point in the race, but albeit the first 50 laps, let's call a spade, there was a lot of cautions in there as Alex Warren about to be under fire from Brandon Hawk in the 53, and I believe he's going to let Hawk have it going into corner number 3 here. But, you know, albeit there was a lot of cautions, so that's going to play into your fuel strategy as well. You would think, oh, we're halfway, you can make it. But if this race goes green, those caution laps factor in, and they factor into a few laps. So you'd have to believe that Overland and a few of these other drivers may be down momentarily to pick up some fuel in their race cars, and also keep in mind that if you take less fuel, then it's a little bit of a lighter load, and usually a lighter load means you're going to go a little bit faster on the long run at the end of the run. So yeah, there's a little bit of strategy to this, and when do you pit? Does a caution come out? There's a lot of planning going on here. Speaking about planning, 5-7 of PJ Sturgis about to lose a spot to the 17 of Justin Trombley. I believe Humpy may be coming in this time by your leader, looking towards pit road, and he misses pit road.
The 58 of Kenny Humpy committed to it from the lead spot and could not get it woed down in time, and that is going to cost him a bunch of time at a racetrack, and now that has prompted everybody else to come down and hit the pit lane, as some of those guys that did not pit earlier in the race are going to come down now and make their stops. Kenny Humpy's going to slow it down a lot more this time on the apron, and he's going to hit the pit lane tough break for the 58.
Wow, that was huge. Alex Warren in the 82 going to come on to pit road as well. So Humpy did lose a little bit of time, but maybe not as much as we may have thought, as he's just behind Warren. Warren was just battling for a top 5 spot at this time of the green flag pit stop, but Humpy will come down to his box, and let's hope for Humpy's sake he doesn't overshoot the box, because if he does, he's going to lose more time. But he gets into the box correctly. The NRT Servers 58 going to go for what appears to be 4 tires and fuel in that car. He'll be down and away momentarily. The leader is Josh Berry, and keep in mind Berry was in under one of those late cautions, so he can probably go another 30-40 laps or so before he comes in. I'm not sure on the exact lap, Evan, that he came in, but I believe he was under one of those late cautions, so he might be able to go 20, 25, 30 more laps here.
Yeah, that one was down at about the 4th, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th caution, somewhere in that window for sure. He's the fastest car on the track right now, trying to work his way around lap traffic in the 10 machine. Keep in mind, you come down the pit lane now, you're going to lose your lap, and that's really going to play into something if we see a caution with guys with faster tires. You know, come down the pit lane and get 4 fresh ones, going to be a lot faster on the racetrack than some of these slower guys who have not come down the pit lane yet. That could cause for some miscommunication in corner entry and maybe throw a caution there, and if you lose your lap, you could easily go from P1 all the way to outside the top 30 right now. As take a look at the drivers one lap down at the moment. Overland, Foster, Humpy, Trombley, Mahar. So Dylan Duval also 2 laps down. So green flag pit stop starting to cycle through now at the Richmond International Raceway as this long green flag run keeps going here, and green flag pit stops continue to cycle through. Josh Barron in 91 still out on the racetrack right now. There's the 3 machine going to go around him. That's a lap car.
That's Brandon Schmidt in car number 3. It's going to put him at the tail end of 1 lap down for the Last Row Motorsports number 3 car. And you mentioned that those drivers that just came down pit road, they want this race to run green until guys like Josh Berry, Brandon Hawk, Cody Bias, Trey Edson, those guys come down pit road. Yeah, sure, you can take a wave by him, but you'll still be at the rear of the field, and you'll still be 23rd, 24th, thereabouts. If this race cycles out, you're likely going to be in and around abouts where you were before, so you're probably going to be 5th, 6th, 7th if you're a guy like Alex Warren and a couple of other guys that had that pit strategy that had to come down pit road. Dylan Duval being one of those drivers. Duval just went underneath your leader Josh Berry, and Berry will go underneath, I believe that's Stephen Gilbert, to go 1 lap down here, as the 71 may have had some issues as well here, Evan.
Dane Miller nearly went around coming off of turn 2. Look to the inside of the 48 machine at Chaburko for a spot. That thing went about 30 degrees sideways, able to hang on to it for now, but close call for Shane Miller coming off of 2.
53 of Brandon Hawk is in some heavy traffic here, is the 37 of Gilbert, and I believe that may be, there's the 9 going underneath him of Nick Morse. Heavy traffic as Josh Berry, your leader, is onto pit road. That will hand the lead over to Brandon Hawk as he fights that traffic. Josh Berry fights very lonely pit road right now, as there's not a whole lot of guys on pit road, but it will be Berry coming down on 125, completion there of lap 125. So with 75 to go, Berry is now on pit road.
And definitely right now only 14 cars on the lead lap, so we're obviously going to have to wait until all these green flag pit stops cycle through to really see where everybody stands. Obviously, Barry had a little bit of a different pit strategy as the 53 machines and the 4. So that's Brandon Hawk and Brian Day, positions 1 and 2, going to hit the pit lane as well. We're going to have to see where all these guys cycle out and where Josh Berry ends up, because he was one of those guys that pitted earlier in the going. So we got a couple more laps on the racetrack than the leaders did that stayed out that entire early portion of this race. We're just going to have to see where this shakes him out in the running order and how it sets up for the finish here. It's green flag still out at Richmond.
Brandon Bowie will be your leader this time by in the 54 car, so put Bowie to the top of the board. He's chased by John Adams, about 3/10 behind him, then Alex Scribner, Justin Bolton, Derek Crone, Brandon Chaburko, Shane Miller, Landon Harrison, Ashley Miller, Stephen Gilbert, I believe, are your top 10, and those are the drivers that have not yet come down to pit road as Bowie stays out on the racetrack. Then you have guys like Overland, Humpy, Warren, Trombley, and Sturgis. Your top 5. What a move by Justin Trombley to put himself into the top 5 on pit road. After that, well, you know, given everything cycles through and these drivers do come down pit road. Battle for the lead, though. John Adams in the 84 going to go to the point as he is going to pass Brandon Bowie, and the 84 will pick up that valuable bonus point here for leading a lap. 84 to the top, and now they see the 50 of Alex Scribner come into play as well. I'm sure Scribner wants to lead a lap here.
That's not going to hurt at all as he's running on the racetrack right now, trying to get things sorted out. John Adams right now, assuming the number 1 spot in the 84. You mentioned Brandon Bowie in the 54 is watching some guys battle in front of him as he's trying to get around the 50 machine of Scribner. Scribner has no rear end. The 42 of Duval is trying to navigate his way through this lap traffic, as whether he's the one that's lap traffic, but he's got the fresh tires, so trying to get around some positions right now. So a little bit of a battle going on at the top 3, about 2-3 car lengths separate all those guys right now up at the top of the standings right now. Green flag pit stops continue to cycle through now. 20 cars on the lead lap as drivers start to race their way back around to the lead lap right now, which is 132. Caution.
9 car of Nick Morse is around in corner number 2. This should draw the caution flag as the 4 of Brian Day. Oh man, the luck continues to dwindle for Brian Day. There's no other way to say it. The 4, Brian Day, his luck continues to dwindle, and the 9 and Nick Morse, I don't understand why he wouldn't hold the brake there. But Nick Morse goes around, and he may have gone around, indeed it was, all by himself in the number 9 car, and as we mentioned, didn't hold the brake, didn't wait for traffic to go through, and Brian Day has nowhere to go. Instead of hitting the 9, he goes into the fence himself. That's tough for the 4.
Yeah, the 9 machine turned that thing around to drive it off the racetrack, and the 4 really with nowhere to go. He couldn't go up to the high side because when he had to make a decision, the 9 was pointed out towards the outside wall, turned to the inside, and that's exactly where the 9 of Morse went, and unfortunately both those guys getting collected in it. The green flag pit stops are going to come to an end, and everybody else that hasn't hit the pit lane is going to do it now under the yellow flag, so everybody's going to get their final stop in at this point in the race, get those fresh tires, and we're going to look for a race to finish. The question is now, are we going to see another green flag run here? There's still a good number of laps to go here, just under 70 remaining in this race, but you got to think with the cautions breed cautions, and the way we saw these guys racing at the beginning of the race, they're going to be going for these spots here as laps continuing to wind down. It's going to be interesting to see how those guys that have been fast work their way back through from the middle of the pack.
It's going to put guys like Kwame Ajay, I believe guys like Rob Ackley, Brian Blackford, if they do stay out on the racetrack here, it's going to keep them on the tail end of the lead lap. It's eventually going to move them around the pace car when they get the wave around. So we're going to have 30 or so cars in the lead lap. It's going to hand the lead back over to Chris Overland, but it's going to give track position to guys like Alex Scribner and John Adams and a couple of other drivers that stayed out that were in that top 10 that might not have had that track position before. They're going to be somewhere in the top 25 when we go back to green. I see we're being joined by Byron Daly. If you don't know Byron Daly, I don't know where you've been. You've living under a rock or something. Driver of the number 93 Newtelligence Ford in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Also celebrating a birthday. Evan was going to sing you happy birthday, Byron, but I think he forgot his kazoo at home to put the tune into effect.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly okay.
Now, I know you've been watching this race at Richmond, and you've seen this race last year in the Pro Series where it went 200 laps caution-free. Now we have that run in the middle of the race. Are these guys, put yourself in these cars, or do you anticipate a, 65-lap green flag run to the finish, or do we see a couple of cautions to close off this thing?
I think it's going to be a very crucial first 10 laps after this caution. If we can go the first 10 laps after we go green again, I think we'll have a green flag run at the end. But the second we start having these cautions, it's going to be caution after caution until the end of the race. It's usually how these races play out. A lot of guys are going to get desperate because their cars may not be as good as they want them to be. So they need to make up positions on these starts in order to, have anything left to say at the end of the race. So it's going to be very important first 10 laps. If we can get through those without any caution, I think we'll be okay.
Now, I know you have some ties with guys like Landon Harrison in this series and a couple of others, but as a driver in this series, do you sit back and maybe do a little bit of scouting for the series for next season, or are you just maybe sitting back and maybe just enjoying this thing?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. Like, I kind of know who's going to be fast and, who's been fast this season. And, I look for those guys in, the NASCAR iRacing. Oh, wow, that's such a long name. I'm just going to say DWC. Anyway, I'll look for those guys next year. But really, I'm just enjoying the race and just watching it all play out. You kind of already know, like I said, who's going to be fast, who's going to be quick. So it's just time to just watch the race and see how it all plays out.
Stick around if we get a quick caution. Chris Overland's gone. Green flag flies, and we're back underway. Kenny Humpy in second, Alex Warren in third. Josh Berry with that real quick run is going to move to position number 4 and try to do something on the outside line. Evan, something we haven't seen this evening is the outside line work. I don't think it's going to work here, but Josh Berry tried to make it work in 1 and 2.
He's going to scoot back in line. The question is going to be, has Overland in the 47 going to be able to hang on to the number 1 spot? It took about 50 laps on his tires until he started the fade back, and a 58 of Kenny Humpy got around him. Then we saw the 91 of Barry come to life as Barry going to go to the inside of Warren. It's going to be interesting to see if we stay green for a decent amount of these remaining laps, how long Overland's going to last. It's 0-0, however, Brad Mahar in the wall.
Yeah, he was in the wall a ton in corner number 3. We stay green, but that car is going to be bent. And after being in the top 10 and moonlighting in the top 5 this evening, right in front of them, Duval in the fence hard. Caution flag will fly, and that's going to end the night, I would say, for the 42. And I believe there's one more car there that's peeled up against the inside wall, trying to get a number on that one. That's Shane Miller. 2 hard hits, and Dylan Duval just went out with a bang.
The 84 was on his inside, you could say, John Adams. It looked like the 42 Duval was going to leave that lane open, corner entry, and then once he started to come down to figure that the 84 wasn't there, that's when Adams tried to make the move and got into the 42. 36 got a piece of that machine. The 48 of Chaburko going to get a piece as well. Duval stuck in the fence. The engine blows up. 37 goes right through him, and the caution flag back out here at Richmond. The 42 is definitely done. They're just going to shovel that thing and get what's left of it back to the garage.
They might be able to put the rest of that thing in a basket and send it on home to Halifax, Nova Scotia. But Dylan Duval, again, one of those drivers that's at the back of this field in the points that really needs to get going in this season, because if he doesn't, he's going to miss out on the series. 35th in points without that drop factored in. And Byron, I want to bring you in once again, and I want to ask about the week experience in Charlotte, because I know the NASCAR Home Tracks banquet was this weekend, and the NASCAR touring champions met in Charlotte and had their banquet, but they also had some pre-banquet media obligations, I guess, and also included the iRacing Champions Challenge. And I know you got to see what happened there. iRacer Ricky Harden took away the top crown, but Tyler Hudson was there as well, battling it out with guys like Ryan Preece and Scott Steckley and George Brunhosel. And it's just a great week experience for those guys, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really an awesome event. I'm really happy iRacing went ahead and put the work in to put that on. It was a great experience to get to talk and chat with guys like Dylan Klosneski and all the national champions that are out there. I think the Rookie of the Year from the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series was there too, and I got to chat with him for a good half hour. It's just a great experience, really, to be there and see all that, and just the mixture of like sim racers and real racers is, it was really great.
And I know you got to go karting, and I know our friends at Inside Sim Racing are going to have a little bit of coverage on that when they get their next show put together. But what happened at the kart track? I know you guys went karting a few times.
Well, it was pretty much like, it was a lot of excitement. There was a lot going on the track. There was a great battle for the lead at Victory Lane Karting between Sean Cole. Tony Stevens was up there until he had a few technical issues. Brian Blackford was actually up there too, and then Sean and Blackford got into coming to the line, and we had a little bit of scoring malfunction too. But in the end, Tyler ended up winning, and it was a great night. Like, if you guys get to see the coverage, it was a lot of fun, and it was just great. It was just a random idea we had while we're eating dinner, and we decided to get up there and run a race.
Now the question is, how bad do you want to be in Tyler Hudson's shoes next year after seeing everything that happened this week and also at Homestead, Miami? How big do you want to see that 93 on top of the board this year?
It's definitely been a goal since it seemed possible last year. I just need to, first we need to win a race and get that out of the way, because you're not going to win the championship without winning a race. I don't think it's been done without winning at least one race. So we need to get that first win out of the way. And then, possibly we can have New Intelligence at the top of the board, Try to do something, I really would love to do that, and it'd just be a great achievement to have. So hopefully we can get it done next year.
You mentioned New Intelligence. I know Parker Klingerman's big on the car. Who else makes it happen for you?
Just the guys at High Performance Motorsports. I mean, I feel bad for them. I've been so busy with schoolwork, I haven't been around to help them, and it's great seeing them run well tonight. The 91, the 19, the 54 was not 54. Well, you guys are going to do, so I'll let you call it.
That's Byron Daly, driver of the number 93 New Intelligence, a forward in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. You can follow him at 3YDaily on Twitter. Green flag flies once again, 47 gone, 91 to the inside of the 58. Josh Berry trying to pick up a spot on Kenny Humpy in the 58, toe-to-toe, down the back straightaway, 146 being worked on the board.
Berry's going to get him here on the inside. Maybe the 58 of Humpy tried to let the 91 go and sneak in line. That's not going to work. The 91 machine of Berry's around, and now the 82 of Alex Warner, actually 19 of Mitchell Hunt, rather, is going to get around the 58 as well. So Kenny Humpy going to drop back to P4, and Josh Berry in the 91 finds himself second, trying to get back up to that number one spot here with just about 50 laps to go.
Coming down to 50 to go in just a few laps, Alex Warren stuck to the outside, and we mentioned the drivers that gained a little bit of time on that pit stop, gained some track position as almost make a little contact. One driver up near the fence. That may be Charlie Foster in the 13 as he is going backwards in a hurry. 52 and 07. Going to go side by side in front of them as Charlie Foster had a moment there.
And they're 3 wide back in the pack coming off the corner. These guys are going at it. The 10, the 22, and the 43 are side by side, 3 wide, all the way down that front stretch, and now they're going to single file out going into 1, so it's getting pretty hairy back there in the pack.
Yeah, it's getting exciting back there. Derek Crone falling back on the outside as we have a battle for the lead, and Josh Berry trying to go to the front of this field. 47 of Overland on the outside, side by side for that lead position, and give it to Berry. Josh Berry in the 91 trying to win his second race of the season. Overland trying to fight back on the outside.
Overland's not going to be able to get it done. Coming off the corner, Josh Berry to P1. Can Overland get down on the inside? He can't. Mitchell Hunt is there, and now Overland's going to find himself trapped on the top lane. The 58 of Humpy has to get off the gas. Maybe going to push up a little bit into Overland. That caused a little bit of a checkup with the 57 of PJ Sturgis. They're going to be fine for now, but Overland dropping up top.
And Berry is gone. Mitchell Hunt to position number 2, and Kenny Humpy is going to take 3rd, and Overland is falling back at the end of this race. Could he possibly, I hear the choking of the chicken going on in the background. Maybe Overland on the outside line and falling backwards in a hurry. Oh boy, Overland losing a lot of points here, albeit he does have a big point lead, Evan. This is not what he wants to do late in this race.
The 17 of Trombley going to get around him now. The 54 of Brandon Bowie on his inside as well. He checks up there to try to get in line and nearly makes contact with the 82 of Warren. You see 47 of Overland is desperately trying to get in line and nearly just took himself out of the race. And now he's going to get in line, and they're going to go side by side in front of him. That's going to single file out, while behind him the 3 of Schmidt's going to get around the 84 of John Adams.
Changing positions late in this race. Berry is gone by a half second, but Mitchell Hunt is beginning to separate himself from Kenny Humpy. Maybe Mitchell Hunt may have turned up the wick late in this race. The 19 car coming to the front and trying to catch the 91 of Josh Berry in the late stages of this race. 45 laps to go this time by for the speed code number 91 of Josh Berry. You better believe Mitchell Hunt's trying to get to the front of the field, Evan, because he's trying to extend that streak. We've had 6 races. We've had 6 different winners. And Mitchell Hunt is going to try to make it 7 here this evening. What about Justin Trombley also in the 17 car? P5 for the 17 of Trombley. What a run.
Yeah, Trombley in the 17 machine started in 38th spot. The first driver to take the grid that did not take a qualifying time. Behind him was Nicholas Morrison, Charlie Foster. That was the back of the pack, so to be running 5th right now. Very good job by the driver of the 17 machine. He has company, though. The 54 of Brandon Bowie is all over his back bumper that last time down the front straightaway. Meanwhile, Josh Berry in the 91, he's starting to pull away from Hunt.
Some of those drivers that got that track position on the pit strategy, the 54 Bowie being one of them, and Trombley going to move up one more around PJ Sturgis in the number 57, so Sturgis going to move back to 5th, and the 17 of Trombley going to move up to 4th. The 17 car coming to the front of the field late in this event, coming down this time to 42 laps to go at the Richmond International Raceway. Berry and Hunt are gone in front of the field. It's battle for 3rd on back.
And they're going for it there. 3rd place is the 58 of Kenny Humpy. He has about 4 car lengths to the 19 of Hunt in front of him. And then you have those guys, Trombley, Sturgis, Bowie, Warren, Harrison, Overland on back. And almost a little bit of trouble. Brandon Haas is going to get shuffled out of line, go to the top lane. The 3 of Brandon Schmidt's going to get around him for that 10th position. But how about Overland running up front all day long, Tim, sitting in 9th place. It's still a pretty solid position, but for the way he's been running all night long, that's definitely not where he wanted to go. And it was just of a circumstance that once you get on the top lane, there's nothing you can do. And he just had to wait till that lane opened up. He got on the brakes, tried to sneak in line, couldn't get it done, and that's why he finds himself back there at this point.
91 of Berry going to put a lap on the 4, I believe that is, or check that. That is the Brandon Chaburko, number 48, to put him one more lap down. Mitchell Hunt going to have company here momentarily from Kenny Humpy in the number 58 car, as Humpy is looking for position number 2 as they go by Chaburko.
And they're looking for that. The 58 of Humpy has about 2 car lengths separating him from Hunt right now as Barry continues to sail away into the sunset at the Richmond International Raceway. As less than 40 laps to go on the board and the green flag is staying out. So we made it through those first 10 laps that Byron Daly was talking about there when you interviewed him under the caution flag. So we'll see how this thing shakes out, but it looks like Josh Berry, the 91 again, he was so strong at the end of that first long green flag run here that happened to a mid-race, but now caution on the track.
Chaburgo involved in it. Landon Harrison in the 89 involved in corner number 3 as the caution flag will fly, and a lot of big impacts there in the corner as the 89 Landon Harrison, your former point leader, going to lose a lot more here as the caution flag will fly.
I think I jinxed that one, but the caution flag is out for sure. Those guys in the wall in 3 and 4 and kept it out of traffic, but that happened in front of them. The 82 machine got a piece of that as well. Taking a look at what caused that wreck, it was the 82 machine of Alex Warren having contact with the 48 of Chaburgo in front of them. Alex Warren with a hell of a piece of driving, about 30 to 45 degrees sideways in the corner entry, and was able to hang on to that thing and not get run over, but the 48 and then the 89 of Harrison eventually getting collected and put up into the outside wall, and that's going to put a dampen on their night here late in the going as both of those cars absolutely torn up.
Mitchell Hunt stays out on the racetrack, but we had about 15 or so that stayed out. There was a bunch of guys that did come down into pit road at the rear of the field, Derek Crone being among them. I believe that's Pat Baldwin also on pit road in the 52 car. So about a dozen cars down on pit road, including Josh Berry in the 91. He is the first off pit road, and I don't really know if I like that strategy or not with these this many laps left in the race, 35 laps left in the race, and he's probably got to pass another 15 cars or so.
He's going to be the fastest for sure on the racetrack with the combination of how fast his car is, but the question is, do we get the green flag laps that he needs to make those passes? I don't know about that call by Josh Berry in 91. He gave up P1 to hit the pit lane.
We're going to take the opportunity to step away for just a few moments. We'll be back and finish the NASCAR iRacing series at Richmond. Welcome back to NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series coverage presented by DoubleClutch here on LSRTV. Split screen, you see what happened there with the 47 of Chris Overland getting through that wreck, and now you're getting ready to see a restart with 32 laps to go, 19:58, your front row, green flag flies, we're back underway. And Josh Berry in the 91, keep in mind he's going to restart in 15th place. Keep a half eye on the 91 as he tries to march through the field. 19, great start up in front. 3 wide behind the 13, 00. And there's one more on the bottom there. They all made it through as the 53 throws a toss to the 54.
Josh Berry making contact in corner entry. Sasha Wessler has to hang on and around, coming off a 4. Caution flag is out. The 07 machine piles on into it. And the yellow returns, and that stemmed from Josh Berry in the 91. Set that into motion, making it 3 wide into the corner. Making contact with the left rear, the driver, the 31 of Wessler. Wessler went up the racetrack, chased it up, was able to hang on to it, then made contact with Morse, back up into the 13 machine, and back around.
Tough break for Sasha Wessler, another one of those drivers that really has to get going this season if he wants to lock up a top 20 spot in the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series to guarantee a spot in the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. Mentioned a little bit earlier that 21st through 30th retain their pro license, but it doesn't mean they get guaranteed into the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. They really still have to earn it every single week to get into that series and lock themselves in. So nothing is a sure deal outside of the top 20. And Sasha Wessler, one of those drivers that's going to have to work that little extra bit harder in the final 3 races of this 2013 campaign. We remind you once again, our coverage presented by DoubleClutch. You can check them out at winonmonday.com. And our coverage resumes after the holiday season. Watkins Glen on the 7th. New Hampshire Motor Speedway on the 14th. And then on the 21st, we close off the season at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. 3 different unique racetracks that these drivers are really going to have to set up for. And I know Byron Daly's still hanging out with us. And Byron, I don't know when, we tried to figure it out earlier, when's the last time the Drivers' World Championship went to a road course?
I don't think we've ever gone to a road course before. It's going to be definitely interesting to see how these Pro Series guys take to it. I've been excited about the idea of running a road course, so if it works out in the Pro Series, I wouldn't be surprised to see it in the NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship next year.
If you're a driver going into those final 3 races, Watkins Glen, New Hampshire, and Charlotte, you got 3 unique racetracks. You get 2 weeks off here. How do you set yourself up for those final 3 races? Obviously, there's going to be no build change. Do you do a lot of testing in the 2 weeks off for those 3 racetracks, knowing that the weather could very well change in between the time you test and the time you race? Or how do you attack these 2 weeks as these 2 off weeks as a driver?
Well, Tim, it depends whether or not you have a good drop week or not. If you still haven't used a mulligan in this series, I believe you could go and focus on the 2 ovals that are left, Charlotte and New Hampshire, and just leave Watkins Glen a chance. I'm not saying show up totally unprepared, but it is a road course. It'll be a little bit of a lottery. Who's going to win? It's going to determine who's going to get through turn 1 first. I think is going to win this race. That race, sorry. But yeah, I think if you have a good drop left, you'll use Watkins Glen as your drop and go on to the the ovals with all your energy. If you don't have a good drop left, well, you better work on your road course racing skills, because that's a great place to make up points on people.
Now, you mentioned road course skills. I know you watch a couple of these drivers run some road courses at times, or you see some of those names. Obviously, PJ Sturgis is going to be one we're going to watch. Who else do you see in this series that is decent at road courses that could very well surprise us in 3 weeks' time?
Well, it's kind of hard to say, because a lot of these guys, you know, if they put their time and effort into it, they could really show up and get the job done. You know, I've heard stories that Landon Harrison was pretty good at road courses back in the day. I wouldn't be surprised to see guys like Dylan Duvall. I think he'll be up front. There are a few guys that they can surprise too. So I wouldn't want to leave anybody out, but you know, I don't know for sure who else would be up there.
And that's Byron Daly, driver of the number 93 Newtelligence Ford Fusion, the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series. You can check them out beginning probably late February. Last year was early March because of the Ford Fusion coming out. Sometime late February, early March. WCS.iRacing.com for all the latest information on the NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship. And you can also follow Byron at 3Y Daily on Twitter. And I'm sure all the Twitter followers are going up for Byron Daly this evening, and he's also celebrating a birthday, so go follow him anyway. That's a birthday present for him. Pace car in 19 car of Mitchell Hunt getting ready for green, and he is gone. Green flag flies for the reallucky.com, number 19, 58 of Humpy going to fall into second. Watch that battle for third. Sturgis on the outside. Trombley on the inside. Short track ace trying to pick up position number 3 as he will drive off corner number 2 with it.
Yeah, Trombley with the advantage. The 57 of Sturgis can't get it in line. The 53 of Brandon Hawk is now there. He's going to bring the 3 machine along with him. That's Brandon Schmidt on the inside lane as they continue to go 2 wide. Now going into corner number 1. The 57 of Sturgis is trying to get it on that top lane, pinching the 53 down, but just can't get it to stick now. Going to lose that spot. 3 wide back in the pack.
47 was almost in the middle of Brandon Hoff and Alex Scribner. He somehow gets away with it. The double clutch 47 going to fall, I believe, maybe 1 position here, back to position number 10. But boy, that was close there between those two as Josh Berry, a couple cars in front of him, continues to push to the front of the field. Got the 3 on the outside. He's got the 27 of Cody Bias following him up through the field.
Side by side now, PJ Sturgis is on the inside this time, and a 53 of Brandon Hawk on the outside as they go side by side for 4th place by the stripe. 57 of Sturgis with the advantage into the corner and is going to get this spot here coming at a 2. Can't quite clear the 53. Actually, a good job by Hawk on corner exit. Going to get back door to door with him in the corner. 27 almost pushes up and gets into the left rear of Hawk. That was Cody Bias on the inside lane. Now 57 of Sturgis going to clear the 53 of Hawk, so Bias into 27 and the 53 going to go at it in 1.
Cody Bias was almost in the wall earlier in this race, and now he's looking at position number 4 as the 27 car coming to the front, but don't look behind him. Josh Berry in the 91 is also coming to the front. He's got tires on that number 91 car as we close in this time. 20 laps to go at Richmond as the 19 of Mitchell Hunt has the 58 of Kenny Humpy to his back bumper and maybe to the inside. 58 looking to the inside of the 19, and the 17 of Justin Trombley is here. When's the last time we talked about Trombley trying to win a NASCAR iRacing Pro Series race?
He's up in this mix now as they're going to go side by side, maybe for the lead now in 1. The 58 of Kenny Hump is going to make it side by side with Mitchell Hunt. In turn number 1, 19 is going to slow up and try to get in line. Can't get it done, and now Justin Trombley is going to have a nose there for a second. Can't carry the speed off the corner. He's going to have to stay 3rd for now, but Mitchell Hunt dropping back to the 2nd spot. These guys putting about a 2nd on Josh Berry, and the 91 up to 4th. Caution flag flies.
Caution flag out as Kenny Humpy takes the lead, and looking in corner number 3 and 4, there's a bunch of slow cars, including Charlie Foster in the 13. That may be the reason we are under caution, as Foster in the 13, I believe, got a little contact with Stephen Gilbert, and it looked like Gilbert got turned by the 13 of Charlie Foster. Scribner also involved in this one, so 3 cars heavily damaged from this wreck, and they'll have to come down pit road, I'm sure, and get some required repairs.
Yeah, it looked like the 13 machine kind of instigated that whole thing. That was Charlie Foster getting into the left rear of the 37 machine of Stephen Gilbert. Maybe tried to make it 3 wide or just sailed it in there way too up. Actually, it looks like he got help with the 7 behind him of Ashley Miller, giving him a little bit of a bump. Sent him on in there and spun the 37, and they both went hard into the outside wall. And then I do believe that was the 50, the 50 machine of Alex Scribner getting a piece of that as well. How about Josh Berry, though? Making the controversial pit stop that maybe we didn't think was going to work out for him, and with just over 15 laps on the board, he's up to 4th.
The point is, though, he's still not in the lead. He's going to have probably 17, 16 or so laps to go when we go green. If we get a few cautions to close off this race, Kenny Humpy and Justin Trombley look real good at this point. Mitchell Hunt is going to start on the outside. He's going to try to lock down a top 3 finish, but at this point, you'd have to believe that Kenny Humpy and Josh Berry are the 2 best candidates to become our first repeat winner this season. Then you got Hunt, Trombley, and Bias looking to become the 7th consecutive first-time winner this season. And then you got guys out and back like Brandon Hawk, Brandon Schmidt, Chris Overland is trying to become winner for the 2nd time this season. Sturgis and Hoff complete your top 10. And we talked about the yo-yo that Brandon Hoff has had this race. Up, down, 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 and now back up to position number 10. So the 23 car quietly 4th in the point standings, and he is looking to gain a little bit here. Landon Harrison, who came in 3rd in the point standings without the drop, is sitting in 20th. Brandon Schmidt, as we mentioned, sitting in 7th, and Chris Overland sitting in 8th. So it looks like at this point, going into the holiday break, if it ends the way it is, and obviously we still have just under 15 laps to go when we go green, it looks like Overland and Schmidt are trying to run away with the season.
And definitely, and you got to look at Overland. He has such an advantage coming into tonight's race, 25 points. And when you throw in the drop week and what can happen in a race, it's really not a lot in what we've seen to him as he's dropped back to the 8th spot. There's some points there, but the biggest lead that we've seen all season long, and the races continue to line down. I'm looking forward, though, to these next 3 races. You keep touching on it, New Hampshire, and then we go to Charlotte and then Watkins Glen, our first race back. Those are the final 3 races, all completely different, and I don't think we're done seeing these shuffling in the point standings. Lights still on the pace cars. We pace on lap 186. So Josh Berry wants this thing to get back going green here quick. But how about Kenny Humpy? Mitchell Hunt will be on the front row. And you mentioned Justin Trombley, 17 machine. He's going to be starting on the inside of row 2.
When I think of short track racers on this service, Justin Trombley is probably right up there, I would say, in the top 5 of short track racers as we double up and go back to green. And I talk about a driver that's been a long-standing short track racer, whether it's the Tour mods, the SK mods, the late models. He's won all championships in all 3 divisions in this iRacing service. And he's won a late model championships 150 as well. He's won a lot of big short track races. Justin Trombley from Winter Harbor, Maine, looking to pick up his first NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series victory. And he could very well be 13 laps away from it, but he's going to get past the 19 and the 58. Humpy and Hunt control this restart. The NRT servers, number 58, going to be on the hammer right here. Green flag flies. Watch the 17 and see if he can get to the inside of the 19. And Barry in the 91 really controls this wild card situation per se in this race in the final 12 laps of this event. Hunt stuck to the outside. Here comes Barry. Barry to the inside. Now, when does he make this move on Trombley?
Well, what a jump by Humpy on that restart, man. He got going, and he's opened up a lead on these guys. Second on back, 2 wide in the pack's not what Josh Berry's looking for. It's 3/10 from Trombley to Humpy. Josh Berry trying to get around Justin Trombley. He can't get to him, though. Still 1.5 car lengths off the back bumper now. 2 going into 3.
Does the 17 have what it takes to become a winner in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series? Trouble out back. This should bring a caution out.
Big wreck. Mitchell Hunt around in front of the pack and gets nailed, and the caution flag is going to fly. The 19 is totaled after going side by side. He pushed up a little bit in the middle of the corner. The 3 machine stuck the nose in there. That is Brandon Schmidt, and Mitchell Hunt went around in front of the pack and got nailed by the 23. Got up in the air. The 52 got a piece of it. 10 got some damage. 56 is in it as well. And the caution flag back out at Richmond.
That is tough for the 19 of Mitchell Hunt, as he's still on the racetrack looking for his spot in line, and he's not going to win this evening, and I guess we can say that he's not going to get real lucky in the reallucky.com number 19 car, as Mitchell Hunt will be scored in 17th that last time by, and it looks like he's staying out on the racetrack at least for this point. Now, it's going to be the 17 starting on the outside of Kenny Humpy when we go green. This is likely, I say likely, going to be our final restart, because we did get 2 to 3 laps into green there before that caution flew. If the race does go green and then goes to caution real quickly, we might have a 1 or 2 lap dash. But if this race goes green, goes 2 laps, and the caution, if it does come out, it's going to end the race. So you'd have to believe Barry starting on the inside. If Humpy goes quickly and Barry can get second, Josh Berry really controls his own destiny if he can get up to the 58 quick enough to make the move before a caution flag comes out. Or if the 17 gives him a little bit, I don't want to say a little bit of grief, but races him hard and maybe holds up the 91 of Josh Berry a little bit, it could free up the win for Kenny Humpy. Then you have guys back there like Brandon Hawk and Cody Bias, 5th and 4th place respectively, looking for something to happen. You got point leaders back there in Overland and Schmidt in 7th and 6th. There's a lot that could happen here. It all depends how good of a restart Kenny Humpy can get and what the other 30-something do behind him, and if they can keep it straight for 5 laps.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen Josh Berry use the bumper before. Right after he came down the pit lane, he ended up sending a car up into the outside wall, forcing a 3 wide. So I don't think he's going to hold back in the 91 machine, but he's definitely going to be looking forward to that. It all comes down to Kenny Humpy. Again, Kenny Humpy has just gotten such strong. That last restart, he got going in the 58 machine, took off. So Justin Trombley in the 17 determines this race as much as anybody else, because if he can get going and get going on the restart, he can try to hold Josh Berry up in that second spot. And Barry's going to be stuck in third, but I do believe if Barry can get on the inside of Trombley going into one, he's gonna race some hell with the 58 machine, because I know that 91 wants this W.
So we'll see what happens here. 193 completed at the stripes. We'll have 7 to go. We should be green with, I would say, 6 or 5 to go, as we see that 17 of Justin Trombley running in position number 2. This, as much as we say that these are big restarts, this is probably one of the biggest restarts in Justin Trombley's sim racing career, as he will roll from position number 2. And looking at the standings, he's one of those drivers that really could use a good run here this evening to really solidify himself, or maybe give him a little bit of insurance per se in this series, because he's sitting right now on the bubble. He's sitting in 20th in the standings. A couple of drivers around him having bad nights. This could really be the run that really makes or breaks his NASCAR iRacing.com Series World Championship gold ticket. If he does well this evening, he could have a little bit of breathing room compared to some of those other drivers, like a Brandon Chaburko, who had tough luck tonight, like a Rob Ackley, who's been involved in some things this evening. He's running 15th right now, but he's in the middle of that hornet's nest. So yeah, it's going to be close when we go back to green. 195 being shown on the board, and we are getting ready to go green here as we are getting doubled up.
Yeah, they're doubled up. The lights are off on a Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. So the caution took a little bit longer than I think we would have anticipated. When they go back green, it's going to be 5 to go. So I do believe at that point, almost any caution would end the race. It'll be close. If it happens right away, we might get a one-lap shootout. We're going to find out here. Let's look at the 91 of Barry and keep eyes on the 58 of Humpy here going into 3.
58 of Kenny Humpy going to be on the hammer this time by 5-lap dash, and he's gone early. Green flag flies, and it's going to be Trombley taking second over Barry. Fourth is going to belong to Brandon Hawk, and Overland going to try to squeak in here for a 5th place run, and maybe a little bit more as he's on the bumper, as Barry on the bumper of the 17. He's going to leave the door open, and Barry going to go to second, and now Trombley going to be stuck on the outside line.
Can Barry get to Humpy coming up off the corner, this time by the stripe? 4 laps to go, but Humpy has about a 5-car length lead going into 1, and the 91 of Josh Barry is battling against the possibility of a caution flag. Is there 3 wide back-to-back? Patrick Baldwin in the 52 up into the wall. He keeps it pointed forward, no caution yet.
47 of Overland to the inside of Brandon Hawk. What a move, and he's going to try to get the 17 along with him. Overland going to go to 3rd into corner number 1 with 3 laps to go. Oh boy, Overland trying to make a big move in the points, as well as the 91 of Barry trying to catch the 58.
We're going to go for it for the lead here. Coming out of 4, the 91 is there. 2 laps to go. Can Josh Barry get it done? He had to check up a little bit coming off of 4. He's got about 3 car lengths to make up this time, going in through turns number 1 and 2. Looking for that speed off corner exit. Makes up a little bit of time. Kenny Humpy going to 3. The caution flag flies. It's over. And Kenny Humpy to victory lane. Josh Barry will not get that shot at the win.
So the field will slow down again. Pace car pulls out, and that will be the end of the race. And Kenny Humpy, 2nd consecutive victory in this series, and the first time this season we have had a repeat winner for the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series. Nicholas Morse is the... you hate to be that guy that ends the race under caution. Nick Morse is that guy, and we've been saying his name a lot this evening, Evan, and it's not for the right reasons. So I'm sure that team is going to reevaluate and rebound in 3 weeks' time at Watkins Glen. Checkers are in the wind, and the NRT servers, number 58 of Kenny Humpy, to victory lane in round number 7 of the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series. Coverage presented by DoubleClutch, and Kenny Humpy goes to victory lane for the first repeat winner of this 2013 campaign. Barry Overland, Justin Trombley, and Brandon Schmidt at the last moment comes home in 5th. Trey Edson, PJ Sturgis, Brian Day, Kwame Ajay somehow in 9th. We haven't talked about him all night long. He's in 9th. And John Adams comes home in 10th. So there's a few drivers that had some great runs here that really needed it this evening. Kwame, Justin, Trey Edson, Brian Day. Off the top of the show, we talked about he needed a great run, and he gets one here, finishing in 8th. There's Kenny Humpy lighting it up on the front straightaway. We are going to step away for just a few moments' time. Post-race show coming up in just a few moments' time here on LSRTV, presented by DoubleClutch. WinOnMonday.com. Welcome back to the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series presented by DoubleClutch on LSRTV. Your winner is Kenny Humpy, Josh Berry in second, Overland, Trombley, Schmidt, your top five. But before we get to our winner, we're going to go down trackside with Evan Basoko to the man who came oh so close to winning his second race of the season. It's Josh Berry in the 91.
And that's right. We're on the pit lane here with Josh Berry. Josh, driving the number 91 machine, had a solid qualifying effort, took to the grid 7th. Before we really get down to the end of the race there, just talk us through those first 150 laps or so.
It went all right for me. I didn't really get a great start at the beginning and kind of dropped back and actually made the wrong call and pitted too early and got shuffled back and it actually ended up helping me out there at the end because it was probably like lap 60. I pitted again and put 4 tires on it, and then we had that long green run, and I just drove by everybody and really used it to my advantage. I guess my own mistake kind of helped me out there through the beginning part.
And then what came down to that pit call there with the closing laps approaching to come down the pit lane, relinquish the number 1 spot? How was that call made?
Guts, I guess. Everybody's telling me I was crazy when I pitted because of how this series works out, but pretty much I guess experience would be the answer to that because at the DWC race in Richmond, I did the same thing. I wasn't in the lead, but I was like 7th and I pitted and it really worked out for me then. I got to like 3rd or 4th because tires were so huge and so I just went with my gut there and put 4 on it because I knew how much faster I'd be than everybody, and it worked out almost. I mean, just 1 spot short. But I just wasn't ready for the last restart, and Kenny got me there, caught me sleeping, and that was just enough what he needed. But it was still a good run. I'm glad to get second.
Coming off a turn 4 there to take 2 to go, you were on the back bumper for sure, the number 58 machine. If we did not get this caution and you had an extra 1.5 cycles around this racetrack, you think you might have been able to get it done?
It would have been close. I would have felt pretty comfortable maybe trying to move him in 3 and 4 on the last lap, but I wasn't going to just drive into his left rear or nothing. I mean, he got in a little deep and washed up, and I could have stuck it in there to his left rear, but we'd have probably both wrecked. And I like Kenny, and he honestly, without the tire strategy, I think he probably had the best car, so I wasn't going to take him out like that. I just was going to try to get him clean and maybe try to bump him a little bit if I had to, but he had a really good car.
Definitely looking forward now. We have a couple weeks off here, and then we come back. We're going to a road course, then the flat New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and then we finish it off at the Charlotte Motor Speedway with only 3 races to go in this series, and you're taking a look at where you were. You were 8th in the points entering tonight. How do you feel going into those final 3 races?
I feel decent about it. I'm not a very good road racer, so I go into that with the motive of keeping it on the track, and that'll probably be pretty good because I imagine that a lot of people are going to be in the kitty litter there. So I think it'll work out. We'll just have to keep going and do the best we can and try to dodge some carnage, and I think we'll be fine.
And definitely, we got a nice shot up of that sharp-looking number 91 Speedco Chevrolet. Any other sponsors, teammates you want to thank? The mic's all yours.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mitchell Hunt and Brandon Hawk for their help with the setup. We really just worked on it this afternoon and got it pretty good. It had a good race set there, and Speedco and you guys for broadcasting it, and all the fans out there that are applauding my drive through the field. I appreciate that. And I will see y'all next week, hopefully.
Definitely, well, a solid run for sure with you and your number 91 team. Couldn't close it off, but top 2. Nothing to be ashamed of after a solid night at Richmond. Good luck when we come back here next week, or in 2 weeks, rather. 3. What am I talking about? Good luck at Watkins Glen then.
Thank you.
Sam, I do believe you're caught up now in victory lane with race winner, driver of the 58, Kenny Humpy.
And for the first time this season, we have a repeat winner. Kenny Humpy, driver of the number 58, comes home with the win at the Richmond International Raceway. And Kenny, let's talk about those final few laps. I know the restart had to be a little bit hectic, especially with Josh Berry behind you.
Yeah, I knew Berry just came out with the new tires. He pitted with I don't know how many it was, 30 to go, and I knew he had fresher tires. And with him behind me, I knew it was going to be tough, but he's an awesome racer and drove me clean, so it was just fun to race like that.
Talked about it last week, turning around the momentum after a rough start to the season. How big is this second consecutive win in the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series?
Oh, it's huge. I was right on the bubble coming in 22nd of being locked into the DWC, and to win here again and get them points, I should be up in the top 20, and I think it's huge to be in the top 20 because 10 people going for 3 spots, that's kind of it's a rough time. That's not very good odds of making the race, so to be able to go and get into the points and be in that top 20 is a pretty big deal.
We asked Byron Daly a little bit earlier. We have 2 weeks off, and then we head to 3 really unique and different racetracks in themselves: Watkins Glen, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and the Charlotte Motor Speedway. How much time in these next 2 weeks do you dedicate to testing? And do you test at a specific racetrack? Do you attack the road course, or do you look at the ovals? How are these next 2 weeks going to play out with no race on Tuesday night?
I think it's a break for a reason, just be able to go relax for a couple weeks and just come back and maybe run a few laps at Watkins Glen, just because we don't normally race on the road courses, so got to get back into that rhythm, and I don't think there'll be much more testing than usual.
So how do you attack Watkins Glen? You mentioned a couple of laps. Obviously, you're no stranger to Watkins Glen. You know the layout a little bit, but maybe not as much knowing that car in or knowing that racetrack in the Class A car. How do you set yourself up for Watkins Glen?
You just want something that's stable. It's going to be a race where you just got to stay on the track the whole time and just kind of try to survive it, because there's going to be a lot of people that don't. And just keeping the incidents down and stay on the track and keep it clean, and I think you'll be able to do good there. But you definitely just want the car not all over the place, and it'll take a few laps to get back used to it. But it's just like riding a bike, you get into that groove, and hopefully we'll come up with a decent setup that doesn't burn the rear tires off.
You've got NRT servers on the side of the number 58. Who else makes it happen for you, and what other teammates do you have that are helping you each week?
Yeah, NRT game servers, they're an awesome company. Great to have them on the car, and InsideSimRacing.tv, there's a great bunch of guys over there. Also got the team, Kevin, Chad, and Rich, and also Mike Skinner came on and was spotting for me today, so got to thank all those guys, because without them, I wouldn't be this fast. So.
And there's Kenny Humpy, your first repeat winner in the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series in 2013. Evan Pasoko has caught up with your point leader and third place finisher and pole sitter and the driver that led the most laps this evening, Chris Overland.
This is a pretty impressive stats for the driver, the number 47, Chris Overland, down here on the pit lane. Chris entering tonight with the biggest points lead that we've seen so far all season, 25 points. You're going to extend on that tonight, just barely over Brandon Schmidt. He finished 5th tonight. Starting on the pole, how was the race, or how was that opening green flag laps? Rather, after those cautions, that long green flag, and we kind of saw you fade a little bit before that caution flew.
Oh, yeah. That was all driver. I had expected the first 50 or so laps to go how it did, but in that process, I kind of tore my tires up, driving hard to try to make sure I kept the lead for the 3 or 4 laps that we'd go before another caution. But DoubleClutch Chevy was really, really good. You guys were talking about me like I'm a good driver or something, and I think if I can fool anybody with that right there, then something says something about that car. I want to thank Joey Brown, all the guys at DoubleClutch that helped me out, and wow, I'm leading points again. I can't believe it.
Now, we saw you up there in the top 5, and then you got stuck on that top lane and just got shuffled back nearly out of the top 10. What kind of struggles come with trying to run that top lane?
There's really no struggle about it. It's more, once you get on the outside line, you pretty much accept that you're going to the back, and you fight for any entry that you can get. And I'm lucky to have teammates like Brandon Schmidt and PJ Sturgis, or I would have been back 15th, 16th. Those guys treat me with a bunch of respect, and respect is a good thing to have in a series like this. I think people can learn from having more of it, honestly. But I mean, running the outside line here isn't really that easy unless you're on fresh tires or it's on a restart. So I guess that's that.
And how'd you get your way back up to the top 3 there in those closing laps? I saw that those restarts got pretty interesting there in those closing laps. How'd you do it?
The Red Sea just parted for me. I know when I pit and I took tires right there after dropping to the back, Josh messaged me, he said, just follow me. He said, follow me, young grasshopper. So I was like, okay, well, he can do all the hard work. I'll save my tires and go up there and get them at the end. And basically, every single time there was a wreck, they would clear me barely, or I'd be nowhere near it, and I'd pick up a spot. And at the end there, I don't know what happened to Brandon Hawk, but he got tight in the center of 3 and 4, and I went for it, hoping he wouldn't come down on me, and thank God he didn't. And I don't know. I don't really know how I ended up 3rd here. This is like one of my worst tracks.
I think you got to give a little bit more credit to the driver, because now we have about 2 weeks off. Then we're going to go to Watkins Glen, New Hampshire, and Charlotte. 3 races to go, and looking like the 47 is definitely up there and maybe one of the favorites at this point to contend for that championship. What's your mindset going to be going into those races?
Watkins Glen, it's going to be another one like this. It's going to be keeping myself calm, keeping the rear tires on the car. I think I'm pretty decent at that. So, I mean, Watkins Glen's going to be pretty fun. I'm just going to enjoy this break, honestly. Not even worry about it right now. But Charlotte's one of my good tracks. New Hampshire, I wouldn't really say that's one of my better tracks. I'm not very good at the flat tracks. But we're going to do all we can, and hopefully this guy who just came in here, I see him, there's Brandon Schmidt. Hopefully he doesn't have any good strokes of luck, because he's hard to keep up with.
Definitely. Well, we see Menards, DoubleClutch on your number 47 Chevrolet. Who else makes it happen for your team?
All the guys at Last Row Motorsports. Once again, Eddie Walczyk and Jen Walczyk at DoubleClutch. Biggest help for me. Everybody who makes their job easier makes mine easier. So thanks to them. Again, Last Row Motorsports, Grove Distributors, Menards. Yeah, all the guys at SRG. All the people who have been talking to me this week. Giving me moral support. So that's basically it.
David, well, congrats on a solid top 3 finish, and make these last 3 races fun for us.
Thank you, man. I'll do my best.
And now Tim Terry, I believe you're down there on the pit lane, caught up with one of the drivers that he was talking about, the driver of the 3 Machine, Brandon Schmidt.
Yeah, we can't seem to find Justin Trombley, who finished in 4, so we're going to move on to Brandon Schmidt, who finished in position number 5, and another one of those drivers that benefited for those last couple of restarts. Brandon, walk us through those final few restarts to get yourself to 5th.
Yeah, they were pretty crazy, like, everyone expecting them to be, but we got off sequence there again. I made a mistake when I was supposed to stay out, and I pitted for some dumb reason and gave up a top 5, 5th or 6th restart and went back to 19th, and just worked my way up from there and had fresher tires, and tried to be smart every restart and not get into anyone. And the whole thing with Mitchell, I'm not sure what exactly happened there. He opened the bottom, I went under him, then as I was trying to stay out of the gas from hitting him, Chris got in the back of me, and it was just really tight. I think it was just a racing deal, but really fortunate. This is one of my worst tracks, so I put a lot of work and effort into it this week, and it paid off.
And you come home with a top 5 finish. Another great finish for this team. We go into 2 weeks off. How big is it to go into the holiday break, 2nd in points, with a couple of good finishes leading in to this break? How much momentum do you have now going into the final 3?
Well, it's a lot of momentum. I think I told you last week that Richmond would be really crucial going into the break, because nobody wants to have a really bad race and look, and dwell on that for the last 2 weeks going into a road course of all things. And it worked out the way I wanted it to. Wish we could have got a couple more spots up there, and I think we had the short run speed, but we were just lagging a little bit on the long run. But really excited going to Watkins Glen with a good gap in the points, and try my best in these last 3 races to close up on Chris.
Asked Byron Daly a little bit earlier about this 2-week break and how much testing does a driver do for those last 3 races, because they're 3 totally different and unique racetracks. And he might have mentioned that maybe if you're the drivers that are in the top 5 or can afford to have a quote-unquote bad week or a mulligan, that you might focus on the ovals. Any thought going into those final 3 weeks, what you do in these 2 weeks to test for those final 3 races?
I'm going to take a couple days off and spend time with my family and everything. And, we got the Sturgis brothers on Last Row Motorsports, and not only are they really good at ovals, but everyone knows how good they can wheel it on a road course. And really excited for Watkins Glen. It's one of my favorite road course tracks, and I think I run pretty well there. And the only track on the schedule remaining that I'm really worried about is New Hampshire, but I was worried about here, and it worked out. So I don't really want to, look into it saying, I can give a race away, because I don't want to do that. I want to, top 5, top 10 every race, and the points will take care of themselves.
Now, you mentioned the guys at Last Row Motorsports. I know you guys are 1-2 in the point standings. You got some great teammates over there as well. Besides, you mentioned the Sturgis brothers and Chris Overland. I know you got some great team members over there. You also got some great sponsors on this number 3 car. Who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, all the guys at Last Row Motorsports, I'm not going to name them because I'm sure I'll forget someone, but all of them play a huge role in the team. But yeah, Unique Signs and Designs, Dylan Schmidt and Gary Collins of GunnerForSR.com, and I really want to thank Nate Choder for his spot in there and keep me cool and give me a lot of good information about the race and times I was running and lap times with the other guys. And he really helped me miss a couple of those big wrecks early on that really could have put us in a hole early on. So I gotta thank him too.
And that's Brandon Schmidt, driver of the number 3, second place in the point standings heading into the holiday break. And Evan Pasoko, 2 weeks off, and then in 3 weeks' time, we head to Watkins Glen. You thought Richmond was a different animal. You haven't seen anything yet. We're going to go 45 laps in Watkins Glen in 2 weeks.
Yeah, those next 3 races, we were talking about it all night long, and they're so different. It's really going to test these drivers and see how this thing shakes out. Again, Watkins Glen, a wild card race, you could say. New Hampshire, there's going to be a lot of beating and banging there, and then maybe we get a little bit of a comfort zone for the final race of Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it'll be interesting to see how those first 2 races really shape up the season finale.
Can Chris Overland hold on to the championship? Who's going to make the top 20? Who's going to make the top 30? And who has to go through that grind of the NASCAR iRacing Series to make it back in to the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series in 2014? It'll all be answered in a 3-week stretch beginning in, 3 weeks when we head to Watkins Glen on January 7th. January 14th, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and January 21st at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. All our coverage presented by DoubleClutch. You can check out all the great information on winonmonday.com, and you're going to want to go over there and bookmark winonmonday.com because there's some great stuff coming up in these next few weeks from Eddie Walczyk and the crew at DoubleClutch. That's going to do it for us this evening on LSRTV. So for Laura Loss and Evan Pasoko, my name is Tim Terry. Have a happy holiday season, happy new year, and we'll see you in 2014 when we say let's go racing from Watkins Glen International. Keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.